Good evening all, welcome to Hilton Parish Council 4th of March. Item 1 on the agenda, I'll just say welcome to Nicola first of all, as new clerk to the council. She's going to try and type as she goes along, which is very impressive. And she's not even looking at the keyboard, which is even better for me. Thank you very much for going through the process, and we welcome you aboard. Apologies for absence and declarations of interest. We have got apologies from Rob and Ian. We believe Laura is going to try and make it. And then, from what I've just been told, she had something that was going on early evening, but she obviously hopes to be. Excellent. Thank you for calling. At this stage, we close the Parish Council meeting and open to the floor. Any comments from the floor? Andy? Got
a couple. On this, regarding the letter I sent in, the A14 discuss information provided by parishioner. Are you going to read that out during that point?
I'm going to read all of it.
Well, no, that first, just the first 5 salient points about.
I've got your email here. Yes.
It's just that, I mean, for the sake of people that are obviously here or on video, I'll have no idea what it's about if we don't have set some context behind it. So I can cover off those first 4 points that we wanted to cover. But are you going to cover those?
I will. Yeah.
So if you can just read those, I think those 4 I highlighted are the 4 main ones. And as Ken will probably tell you that I think there's been progress since then. The other part was, did the Parish Council write a letter to Highways England, as you said you would at the last meeting?
Yes, we did.
Could we see that or put it on the website?
Yeah, I'll read it out as well.
That would be really useful. Yeah. And I didn't get an email request from you to send out an email to parishioners.
You said if you thought it was worth it. So
whether you thought it was worth it. The other second quick one. The other quick one was 3.1. At the last meeting, there was some discussion. Sarah mentioned about looking for alternative potential locations for the play park, and you were going to talk to some farmers and about land, and you stopped the discussion to say that it couldn't be on the agenda, but you put it on the agenda for tonight. Is that going to be discussed as part of that point tonight?
I think 3.1 will be a quick discussion point because sadly there are no supporting documents for 3.1, so it'll have to be agended again.
Right, can we put it on the next meeting then?
There were no supporting documents.
I'll wait to get that. Sorry.
Yeah. It's just yeah, that's right.
So that was it. Just if we put that on the next agenda, and if we get obviously the required documents out, that'd be good.
We'll decide what business we discuss. Yes.
A request, please.
Any other comments from Ken?
The A14, when we had Mike Evans was here, there was some question about gantries raised with him, and he said that the gantries would only be put up once a decision was made. Today, at the bridge on the V1040, there's a huge gantry arrived on an articulated lorry, which is big enough to go straight across the old carriageway in both directions. They would only use those on motorways. On A roads or expressways, they only use the ones on a pillar. Does that indicate something that we don't know?
No idea.
I think he actually said there will be no additional gantries other than already being planned for an expressway. So there will be no additional anythings.
But they are upgrading it to motorway, applied to upgrade it to motorway status.
That would indicate that something is going on that shouldn't be.
He misled us.
I'm actually writing to Mike Evans already via Pat, but I just thought I'd let you know.
There is a gantry if you look when you're going over the Wood Green.
Yeah.
There's one down there.
Well, this one is now going the other side of the bridge towards Fenstanton, and it's going to go straight across.
Do we know what it's sited?
Pardon?
Do you know that as a fact?
Well, they wouldn't have taken an articulated lorry down onto that section
Yeah,
unless
we
they.
don't know where the site is for it.
Pardon?
We don't know exactly where the
Well,
site
it
is
won't
for
go. It won't go underneath the fenced Hampton Bridge, so it's going to be between that stretch, I would think.
And point
And the light pollution that's going to create is not something that they've ever discussed with us, and it's not something we or the council have ever said.
No, we've not been aware.
You know.
And point 3, and that's very salient to say that these VDSL gantries need to be between 600 and 1200 metres. So they're going to be quite a number of them up that road that were never planned.
So I just thought it might be something that you
Yeah,
might
been a bit previous, aren't they?
Yeah.
keep an eye on. I will write to Mike Evans tomorrow.
Yeah. Thank you, Ken. Anything? Anybody else? Ian, as county councillor, how was your budget?
Well, I'll talk
Actually,
about
tell
it.
us.
I'll talk about it because I didn't talk about it then because we hadn't set it. We have now set the budget. So that's the first thing to say. And obviously the district council has set theirs, I understand now. So I think all the budget setting has been done. There was quite a lot of consensus between the three main parties about the principles of the budget, and the questions came really about what to do with this bit of the budget. So it was more specific across the three parties. It only took 6 hours this time, rather than 12 some time ago. So the basic principle of the 2% for adults was pretty well already, everybody was agreed before we walked in. So, and also the basic council tax, all that really was agreed. It was what I call at the edges. You wouldn't have seen it because it didn't work on that day, the live streaming, for some reason or other. Anyway, it has been set, and there was 3 amendments put forward as to what to spend it here or here or here. That has all been now duly passed, and the budget has been set. So that's the total budget is 4.99. Well, Kieran is writing it down. Don't put 5%, please, okay? Because it's not 5%. It's 4.99. We will not need to have a referendum. If you remember previously, if you put the council tax up more than 1 point, okay, there had to be a referendum. So obviously we will not need to do a referendum, which costs a lot of money in Cambridgeshire to do a referendum. But obviously the Fire Authority and the Police and Crime Commission have also set their tax. So it's all been done and dusted. The final figure about where that, what I call the edges, okay, one party particularly looking about putting it more into children's services, that was defeated, and the pass that got through was to invest more in our roads, okay, to the tune of 28 million extra. Don't get too excited, because you don't spend all that in day one. So that's extra, and it is the word extra, okay, and that needs to be spent over time. Now, it's not about the potholes, which is the routine maintenance. I had an enjoyable Friday last week on the new Dragon, and it's quite impressive to see that in operation now. We've got 3 of them. But this is about really the foundations of the road structure. So it's not about filling the potholes, it's about the longer term investment in the roads. And obviously there's a programme which will be worked up over the financial year and the next year and the next year, because obviously you need to programme it, and it's all done on the asset management plan, all on the County Council website, so you can see how they assess each road year by year. And obviously the priorities are all towards the A and B roads, etc. They're being the heaviest used, so you won't be surprised at that, whereas your cul-de-sacs, if you like, are down the list, but I don't think you'd be surprised at that either. So that's really where the budget is, and it's all set, and we'll be starting the next round pretty soon with the next round. The other piece that perhaps the coming together with Peterborough. As you know, we've got Joint Chief Executive for Peterborough, and all the senior staff will be joint appointments with Peterborough, so that will obviously save some money in management terms. So that is ongoing. And this week is the for apprenticeships week. So a lot of apprenticeships are in. No, not mine. I didn't bring it. Apprenticeship. So the county council has about 44 apprenticeships, okay, across the service. So people have a view about apprenticeships being what I call electricians or plumbers or everything else, but it does cover the complete gamut of services. So a lot in social care, with social workers, etc.
Will they get paid 365 days?
Sorry?
Will they get paid 365 days this year?
Yes.
So it won't be imposed unpaid.
That was proposed. I don't think there was much discussion about that because that was proposed by my party. Okay, that was a recommendation from my party.
That they get paid.
Yes. The 3 days that we had last year will not occur again. Next year, that is. I'm not suggesting the year after, or the year after, the year after. But that is the decision which has been made, and that is all part of the budget discussion. You can see it all. It's all. You want to read the piece that keeps your front door open. It's about 3 or 4 inches high. If you're that desperate.
And I just know that that was an issue, wasn't it?
I'm aware of all that, Peter. If you might say that that was removed from the budget on behalf of my party.
Good stuff.
Happy to answer any questions. But very nice for the tea. I might finish the tea and then go.
Anybody got any questions for you? I've asked my question. And the letters will come out now, won't they?
Yeah, well, they come out from the district council because they manage it, like they manage for you as well, and the police and the fire. So the usual will
Matter
happen.
will be coming.
It will be.
Water rates has arrived, but that one is yet to.
It will be on the website, presumably, County Council website. What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see it all, and you can. In fact, if you go straight to the what I call the meat of it, which is what was suggested by various parties and what was agreed, you can see what the voting are as well. Actually, who voted for, who voted against, who abstained. Remember, we do have independents as well.
Yeah.
Within the council, although they put no amendment forward for the budget at all. So it's only the 3 main parties that put any suggestion forward about the budget. But it's all there, and yeah. What's not there is the fact that the TV broke on the day, so you can't see it. So you can't. Not that you'd want to sit there for 6 hours necessarily to watch it all anyway. I certainly wouldn't. Sit for 2 minutes.
Thank you, Ian. Any other comments from the floor? In that case, we'll go back. We'll close the open session at what's the time? 19:44. I'll go back to the agenda. Agenda item number 2 is to approve the minutes of the Parish Council meeting held on the 4th of February. Fantastic set of minutes. I mailed them out. Had no comments, so I assume you're all happy with them. In that case, I propose that they're accepted. Thank you. All those in favour? If you weren't here, you can't vote.
I wasn't here,
Yeah.
so I can't.
And that was it, yes, because 3 of you were here. Yeah. Can remember something sometimes, can't I? Right, item 3.1 is play park. To discuss and vote on the contract for play park equipment grant application successful. Unfortunately, we have no supporting documents in which to form
I will
discussions.
cover that through with you, Peter.
Right.
Shall I just start by saying the reason this is on the agenda is because I submitted the funding application to the Amy fund as required the 18th of February deadline after our last meeting. They pretty much immediately got back to request a couple of things that were missing from the application. One of which was that we aren't considered ready to proceed because we haven't selected our contractor. We need to get back to them by the 18th of March with the listing items in order for them to proceed with the application. The other item was to do with the fact that they actually need confirmation of the rest of the funding having been secured, which we won't find out from them until the 13th of March, or just after the 13th of March. So that's why we've got that on here. So we need to basically discuss the contractors that we've previously brought with details and quotes to the Parish Council of, and not in agreement which contract the working committee decided on. Sarah's got the detail.
Just to summarise very quickly, we have actually sent you all the supporting documents since the first meeting that we discussed the play park bill in October. In the October meeting, we agreed to get quotes from 4 companies: Fenway Leisure, EB, Hags and Compound. On the 18th of November, we had a village drop-in to gauge what sort of village support we had. We had 40 families there. You've covered the funding situation. That's fantastic. Thank you. The 2 companies that the village liked the best equally was Hag and Compound. The working party and myself and Laura requested that Compound and Hag came back, reviewed what the villages required, and we, after careful consideration, we would like to propose that the Hilton Village Playground contractor is Compound. The reasons for this is we've looked very carefully between Hags and Compound. We've looked at their services and spare parts, after service care. We definitely feel that Compound gives the best situation on that. They actually keep spare parts, whereas other companies tend to wait until they can get a container full in China and then ship it over. So that's a bit difficult. The representative for Compound is a lady called Helen Stepton Pike. She gives us the most confidence to work with, designing, discussing. She's based in Kettering. She will very regularly come out. Her background is she was 14 years with Wickstead, 14 years with Hag, and has recently just joined Compound. She is the most experienced representative out of the 4 companies that we met. And then finally, to try and get some recommendation of whether we're going along the right route, I spoke in depth with Jo Walthamstow, which she's from Huntington District Council. She is in charge of their 40 parks, and she really felt that the experience that Compound and Helen had would definitely be the best company for us to work with and the most experienced for us to work with. I would like to state there is no conflict of interest or conflict of loyalties when the 3 of us have been making this recommendation. And also Compound, after the second meeting, were the company that really understood the brief that the villagers gave us. So if we can please agree that Compound out of the 4 companies is the best one, and if we could just vote and say this is the company that really fits us the best and will give us the best after service and service during the process, then we can complete the funding application. And Compound will very happily come back and make a presentation with the final display before we go back to the village, so make sure the Parish Council are happy with it. But it is wood, it is grass, it is very, very exactly what the village has said. So I would very much like to recommend, or the working party would like to recommend, that Compound is the company that we vote for this evening, please.
Just one other point, in terms of the quotes, they were pretty much consistent with each other. There wasn't a significant difference between the 2 prices between the 2 companies.
Well, we have actually covered that
We covered
information.
that previously at the previous meetings.
Compound was 56 and Hag was 52.
And the equipment's similar.
The equipment is very, very similar, but I just felt that Compound listened to what our village wanted best and is going to provide that. Any questions?
So you're asking us to pick a supplier without having a final costing?
Well, I thought that
But it would just
the final costing is here, the final costing which we have already given you. the
Yeah.
information for,
And they're going to work within the budget.
is 56270.2, excluding VAT, and we have given you those.
Well, that was the initial cost that came in
Yeah,
some weeks ago.
yeah,
So
and they will, if,
we
when
haven't had the
we will
opportunity to
redesign, but it
look
will
at
be
the
kept
design,
within.
or you've not brought it to the open spaces to see what the maintenance
We
commitment's going to be.
shared all the designs at the December meeting. We sent around a PowerPoint presentation after the village meeting, so that was all shared. All the different designs were shared during that as one of the supporting documents.
So
And this isn't a decision as in we're going to go and sign a contract with someone, because obviously we haven't got the funding yet, and it's not, the decision isn't now to know it's a decision as in that's who we would like to use as the contractor.
yeah, they're the ones who want to quote on our application, and they know that, so that we
So
can
this
then...
number that's been said, that's not the final quote.
That will
They've
be
said
as
they work within the budget,
Yeah.
so...
So it's not the final quote.
the-
Because it could be lower, couldn't it?
It could be
It could be
different.
lower.
But it won't affect the parish council very much whether it is lower. We obviously will not go any higher because that is what we have requested on our funding application forms.
The only impact to the parish council in terms of the finances is the CTP fund, which we discussed, which is the 11%, which we discussed at the last meeting. We've already got the some money towards from Hilton Town Trust, so the council would have to pay, would have to vote to pay the difference on that.
And they'll come and do a presentation then?
Yes,
So,
yes,
on the
And the
definitely.
REN part of it, is that to make up the balance?
So we applied for funding from both,
Yeah.
yeah, so the rents to make up the difference from that. But they haven't, one of their criteria wasn't that they needed us to have selected a contractor, that's why we've not discussed it for now.
Yeah.
It is like chicken and egg, isn't it? You've got to have a contractor to apply for the funding. So
Yeah.
this sort of like finite amount is immaterial really, I suppose, as long as we've got a budget to work within.
I think one of the reasons that this has suddenly been put on our desk this evening is that we were only informed 2 weeks ago, approximately, that we couldn't submit the second part of the application to Amy until we have voted and minuted
So in fact I
who
did
our
submit.
contractor is going to be.
I did submit, and I just had selected one of the contractors' quotes to use for the submission, but I'm told that we actually have to use the actual figures, and that's why we need to have, you submit all the quotes, so I still submit all the quotes from all the 4 contractors to show that we've approached them. Yeah. But in terms of the figures and what we're asking for, it needs to be based on one actual quote. It can't be averages or...
But as Sarah said, we're not signing a contract as yet. This is in order to finalise the funding application, so we can move forward and at least know whether we're going to get somewhere with this or not.
And our deadline is the 18th.
So
Yeah,
this
so if we
is-
don't decide today, we can't get the funding application, so it's the end of the...
End of the whole process.
Can we revisit this later? I know you have to select one for your funding,
Yes.
and as Sharon says, it's chicken and egg.
Yeah.
But can we then re-look at it before we can fully commit?
We look at what aspect of
Which
Contractor.
design contractor cost, so that we know we're getting the very best. You see, if we make it clear to a contractor that they've got the job, irrespective of what the final price is, that's really bad
There'll be no
commercial
making clear
behaviour.
to any
No,
contractor.
honestly, that's really bad commercial behaviour. So if we were to say, for the purpose of getting the money, and I understand what you're trying to do, I think that's fair, but if we still have a chance to revisit it when we see the final design cost, and then make a decision.
But I think we have near enough got the final design. There will be one more presentation. I mean, we're obviously going from the... First of all, we put ourselves together as a working party. We have now gone to the Parish Council as a working party and said, this is our recommendation as a working party. A little bit as the working party that voted for our parish clerk. You know, we are the working party and we're putting it on the table. So we're putting our names against it. We then have taken the information from the parishioners and we are putting together something that the parishioners have requested. All the way through this, we have presented this at every meeting where this has come up. and we've asked the Parish Council to review and look and discuss. So it's not as if this is a sudden out of the blue situation. And we are very much taking the direction of parishioners, but also looking at the space, the size, and we have discussed it.
What's behind your concern?
Well, there's a few things really. To be honest, I was waiting for supporting docs to come into behind this item for tonight. So I didn't look back at the previous one because I presumed there'd be some.
Okay.
And Peter said when we sat down, we haven't got supporting docs and stuff. So I didn't.
Or an
I can't
indication
really remember
to
what
tell
the,
us that
Okay.
it is submitted.
So I wouldn't be able to vote on it now tonight because I haven't linked the two together.
So that's a different point to one raised
But
about.
the second one is, and the first thing that struck me was, we're committing to a commercial relationship with a company without getting the final price.
So
Well, not actually.
That's what I was going
And
to
that's why I
my
asked, could we
point
revisit it later?
So one of the definite criteria of the funding application is you cannot sign any contract or commit to any
Exactly.
application until
Not
you,
actually doing
one, they confirm you've got the funding, and then they take a month to register it with with an organisation called Entrust. Until that point, you're not allowed to actually sign any contract or enter
So we
into
can't
any
commit to
negotiation agreement with a contractor. So we're not tied into anything.
Yeah. So in theory, we could
So
do
we're
this.
selecting a preferred one at the moment based on what we've got
Yes.
in order to secure the funding.
Yes.
Yeah, the funders basically want to know that what our decision is, how we come to a decision as a Parish Council on the contractor. The question in the funding application is, how have you discussed and decided on a contractor? How have you considered value for money? Have you considered any conflicts of interest within the Parish Council? That's basically the point of the selection, and that's how you come to request the amount of money you're asking for.
So in short, we're not committing the Parish Council to a contractor at the moment. It's an intent. It's an intention to go with compliant if everything else works out, the funding, etc., and they present well and so on. And we'd be very surprised if we get the point that compliant wouldn't do the best job, because that's what our analysis has suggested.
And I think that's why I went to the Joe at Huntington District Council, because I felt that we are a working party, that we do want somebody from an outside but local to give us a good. And I could have run around hundreds of parish clerks, but I felt she runs 40 parks.
Okay. So as long as they know that they aren't, they're not got the job, basically.
No, they don't.
No.
Because what we want to do, to get the very best deal for the village, is to have 2 or 3 horses in the race and get to the point where you are getting a much better deal, negotiate with them and see what we
I do
whether we can get
understand that,
in
but I think you must
at the point of being
remember.
able to make the commitment to the job.
I think
That's
you-
good commercial practice.
No, I can see that, but also at the end of the day, we want to get the best equipment for the village. We are getting funding from a third source.
We're hoping to get it.
Hoping, I mean, if we don't get the funding, this isn't going to go anywhere anyway. And if it's your own personal money, or if it's the Parish Council personal money that was actually having to cough up £60,000, let's say, I would agree. We need to have 3 companies, and we need to bounce them backwards and forwards and reduce and reduce and reduce and reduce the pickup. That's not the case in
Well,
this
an element
situation.
of it is parish money, isn't it? You have to underwrite
There is, I
section.
think, potentially,
Well, that's how it's explained.
potentially.
11%, but minus the town trust money that they've confirmed. So about £3,500 parish
There was
council.
also talk.
Yeah, the Buddhist group.
So we're talking about hundreds.
So I actually think
Rather
we're just
than
kind of
thousands.
splitting hairs in a way, because of what Laura's described as the requirement for the funding. That's the decision we want for tonight, is which organisation can we put on that form to help us move forward. And we're not committing to any organisation until we get to the next, or even the one after stage.
I mean, I don't know the legal ins and outs of it with the funding application, but we're not signed into anything with the funding. I'm pretty certain, as much as I can be, that if something happened and things changed in terms of who we decided with this contract, because something changed dramatically, then they could withdraw the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, they could withdraw the whole thing, or, you know, I don't know if that's
You
what
could
they would
change
say,
the
or whether they
contract
could
to-
say, yeah, okay, well, you've now got a good reason to change your contract because you found out this, or you know.
So I think we're very close to being on the same page, to be honest, because we can't say anything in the comp plan yet. But
Comp plan.
A slightly
Feel
different,
bad.
I think.
sorry,
Kids food.
Can we just have a brief overview of what's included for that 56? You mentioned about wood and grass.
We have actually, yes, we have actually
Lovely.
put the last lot of plans, when we put all three and we gave you a PowerPoint picture, etc. What we've got in there is very briefly, if my memory will go in, is we have a basket swing that is perfect to put little tiny toddlers in. Also on the same sort of rail we have 2 larger swings. But this is the proposal at the moment, Brett. It can be
Yeah, no, I was trying to
We
explain
have-
how it looked.
that is in wood, natural wood,
Yep.
and it's natural colour. There is no major colour
Mhm.
in any of this.
Yeah. That's like
Um,
a central bit in the middle, isn't it?
Pardon?
Is that a central bit in the middle?
There is one beam that goes right the way across,
Yep.
there is a basket swing there, there's
Okay.
2 beams that go there, and then there's 2 swings, because the parents said, parishioners said to us, the girls especially would like to swing together. So that's why we've done that. We've got a
Started
stand-up
at the age.
seesaw that compound, and it is the only company that has said they will do this, that it is actually from a different company called EB, that all the parishioners like the stand-up seesaw, and it had a lot of votes for it. Compound said that if we purchase the piece of equipment that is approximately £2,000, they would get the donation. They will put it in the ground and make sure that it's in the right position with all the rest of the equipment, health and safety. The other thing we've got is we've got about 4, 5 pieces of equipment, again all natural wood, that is wiggly wobbly things that young children can walk on, stand on, balance on, roll around on. And then the last thing is there is a play structure with a slide on it which is suitable for small ones and a slide suitable on it for 8+-year-olds. But it is a structure which is nowhere, it is not any higher than the existing structure we have in the playground.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
But it will give children from the age of 6 to 12 an opportunity to play on. There's sort of ropes on it, netting on it which they can climb up and down. It's not a massive piece of equipment, but it is designed to a situation where it will potentially take children up to 12. But it will definitely take the kids up to the age of 10, because we had a lot of parents saying that even if the piece of equipment is suitable for a 6-year-old on paper, in fact actually the 6-year-olds are absolutely bored with it at that point. And we have got a park bench for mums to sit on in the green area that it was agreed that we could have outside the play area.
And it also includes the surfacing, which is obviously the major point as well, and also things like the delivery, the freight, the on-site services that they need to install.
Right, well, this is something that, again, we can order, but we have listened very carefully as the working group.
Because we had some nice samples of
Yeah.
green materials.
The green resin bark or resin mulch.
Yeah.
We looked at very, very carefully. We had lots and lots of discussion. And again, I've actually had lots of discussion with Joe from HDC. We feel, because health and safety now allows grass underneath swings and slides with a hexagonal thing to hold the grass in place, it's been really brought back to our attention that maybe we should put the whole of the play area back to grass with a maintenance contract, which obviously there is a discussion on that on green open spaces maintenance. The grass has, the matting for the grass has a 10-year guarantee on it. The mulch and also the other material, artificial grass, only has a 5-year guarantee on it, and it was very much felt because we have this algae problem, we are going to have the same problem with either the resin or the artificial grass. And it was felt that the companies were going, the other companies were quoting, we're looking at artificial grass or the resin. It looks perfect immediately, the bunkers are opened, but it's not perhaps going to be so good for a long time. And we're looking very heavily at the guarantees on the long term.
And just in terms of what you're asking what you're getting for the money, just in terms of all the 3 contractors that are going to do a complete overhaul, you're looking very similar in terms of what type of equipment and the amount of equipment they're going to provide, very similar type in terms of costs and things. So that is the cost to install new playground equipment. Yeah.
I'm just trying to get a picture
The
of it.
highest figure then, which is what the
Compound.
that included the artificial surface.
That included the artificial surface, but if you go back to laying grass with the webbing, when they were laying the artificial surface, they were going to be able to lay it over a lot of the existing concrete that's there because of the safety. That's what they say. We go with their recommendation. If we lay the grass, the savings is very little because obviously we've got to take the whole of the playground back down to soil. So everything that is dangerous in there has got to be taken out, not covered.
So that's quite a significant change to the proposed project.
It is a significant change on the basis that it is the flooring. Compound will do all 3 items. Whichever we want. It can still be kept within this budget of 56,270. This is something that we can decide on when Compound comes with the Parish Council, the presentation to the finished project, and full discussions can go into that before any contracts are signed. This is the recommendation from the working party that we do seriously look at the grass now because of all,
And you've got some figures from Compound saying that to remove and lay
it's about, yes,
comes out at the same price.
absolutely, and yes, absolutely.
But unfortunately those haven't been shared with us.
No, but what we were doing
that
is we
correct?
weren't actually obviously voting on the costing.
No, I
we
just
were
want- I
voting
just-
on the recommendation from the working party on which
So what they're saying
company.
is they can do a choice of flooring. That's
Within the
their
budget that has
proposal,
been
yeah.
discussed on the original figures, yes.
And I think that's something that obviously we'll have to vote on later once they've done the presentation
Yes, but
and then decided what.
But I think Compound is the most flexible company out of the 3 companies, which would appease with the Parish Council.
Are they putting a new fence up?
No, fencing has not been discussed because I believe it covered, it was stated by the fact that the Parish Council back in
18.
September or
Yes, I was thinking-
whenever
that's what I was
was
thinking.
going to repair the fence.
There is actually a contract out there with someone to repair the fence.
Yes.
I don't know whether it's been
Someone was
stopped.
putting extra posts
Yes,
in.
That's correct.
So I mean,
Yeah.
The idea
I
was
don't know where we are there.
so
But
it
obviously,
can
if
still
we
fit
are
within.
doing the car park, if we go ahead with this playground, we will obviously have to remove some fencing and then put it
Yes,
back up.
but the idea is it will be a similar external fencing.
Absolutely
and so we don't have
correct.
to worry
Yeah,
about-
we're not going to go into a great big
No,
mess.
so then we don't have to worry about stopping the existing contract with the fencing.
So if
I
you decide
wouldn't-
to take the concrete out, you imagine you need a big hole to operate.
Yes, precisely. So there's no point in repairing the fence at this
No,
moment
but
in
perhaps we'll
time.
install it and just say,
Yeah,
we still need the posts, but don't put them up.
because otherwise it'll be ripped out.
Yeah, okay, good, thank you.
So tonight, we're
And the
just-
access to the site when they remove the concrete will be where?
It will have to go, we have discussed this at Green Open Spaces with Kieran, Willie, and we will have to move the bollards to one side and allow the lorries to go up that part of the road. They will obviously put netting up outside the playground on the right-hand side where we're eventually going to put a grass area. There they will secure and put their equipment there, and that will be their access. And we have actually discussed that in Green Open Spaces, that there shouldn't be a problem with that.
And then make good afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, and my only final point on this whole topic really is that there is a timescale involved in this whole project. So part of the funding applications are that within a certain time limit of doing the application, I think one of them was 6 months and the other one was a year, you have to have completed the project. So the completion date on one of the funding applications, I think we worked backwards, was the 31st of July. So we need to make sure just that obviously we only have council meetings once a month, that we do need to know that we're not going to make decisions at certain points on this process. So we're likely to hear back about the funding in mid-April. Then the project, if we are successful, then gets registered with Entrust, which can take up to a month. And until that point, you can't do anything. You can't sign any contracts with contractors. You can't start any work. But from that point onwards, obviously then we've got a period of time. If there's any delays, you have to literally go back and inform them. They have to inform the registration, and there is quite a process in terms of amending. So just to be aware that there is a time frame around the whole process to just keep the funding secured in London.
Do you know if the contractors are able to complete the work within that timescale?
Yes, so,
The contractors work with these funding companies all the time. It is the most, this is the way that most of these contractors get paid by landfill funding.
Okay.
They are aware of the ridiculous timescales that some can put on. So yes, is the answer to that.
So are you going to keep various contractors in play after this point? Are you, so you've got 2 in mind, you said. So if we agree to go with one tonight, for the sake of
I mean, we'll
funding,
probably do nothing more with the contractors at this point anyway until we could get the funding secured. So
And
after
then-
this
and
meeting,
then you
nothing's
refine
going to
the
happen.
design.
Yeah.
And the 13th is the first, so that is, so 11%, let's call it 10%, that's 5%, of which you've got 3.5 sorted out.
Definitely 2.5.
Yeah,
Yeah.
possibly leaving you that,
Yeah.
And is the REN to make up that bit?
No, you can't use any of the funding to make up that bit. That's, this is,
So
that has to be
the
additional.
first grant application is for how much?
That's the Amy one.
Yeah.
So the Amy funding, which is the one that we need to have in the minutes with contracts tonight, is for 40,000.
Yeah.
The REN is for the difference
Mm-hmm.
on the Amy funding application, but we have actually applied for more from REN
Okay.
because we're able to.
Why not?
Yeah.
The full amount could be applied for from REN, basically. But obviously, Amy aren't aware that you applied for the full amount because you're just
Yeah.
to balance what funding you've got applied for.
And we know that there are people in the village who would be willing to donate if needs be help. So that's
It's good because one of the things was, if I recall correctly, and we discussed this, was that there would be a fundraising undertaken if the applications were successful to make a shortfall in funding.
That's right. So that's why everything depends on getting.
And part of the problem is until we know if the funding's accepted, and then we're going to be running around very, very rapidly around the village trying to think of fundraising events.
Well, we have already secured £2,500
Yeah,
towards
which is
and
brilliant.
possibly another 1,000. So I think there's at least half of it's been, more than half of it has already been fundraised in some way. If you can discuss
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. That's very good.
Lots of hard work in there, ladies.
Yeah. So can we
Any other
vote
questions
to-
around the table? So, I think I'm going to make a comment that it would have helped this discussion if there had been a reminder to us of the documents that had been previously submitted, yeah? Because you've kindly pointed out that these documents were sent before, and that was the end of last year, you were working group, you're fully on top of all the documentation that you've been looking at and discussing. So I think it would be helpful to us who aren't on the group, just to be reminded.
In
of
that
those
case, I
documents.
apologise
That's all right, I'm
profusely,
just-
and I really
I'm not
didn't
asking
think
for an
it was
apology, I'm just
necessary to
saying,
put the same documents out again. So I do apologise for that one, and I
It would
will
have
bear
helped.
that in mind in the future.
It would have helped with
Sure.
some of the discussion, wouldn't it, about what the equipment was, and just reminded us, wouldn't it? Right, so that's
I
just
should have brought up posters. I'm really sorry about that.
Or at least just say
November.
in advance, refer to the information
Sure.
sent out December, because we just didn't know.
Yeah.
Apologies.
Yeah.
Total apologies. It wasn't to pull some wool over your eyes or anything, it was just,
So then you wish to make a proposal?
I would like to propose that the Parish Council vote that our provider of our Hilton Parish playground is compound, please.
Subject to successful
Sorry.
funding.
Yes.
Because
I
you can't appoint them unless it's funding successful, can you? And I'm not prepared to vote on.
The preferred contractor for the funding application process.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll second that. So-
Okay.
Right, all those in
Well,
favour?
and we can relook at it again, can't we? We're not fixed.
We've not signed anything with the company. In terms of the funding, I've got no idea what happens to the funding. If we go back to Amy and say we've changed our mind, I honestly don't know. But we're not signed into anything with that, so there's nothing else we can do apart from choose a contractor in order to carry on with the funding. So we're kind of...
Yeah, you're at a
We have to
difficult
agree.
crossroads.
What's in the back of my mind? I'm sorry to
No, it's
sound
fine.
like
There's no choice.
this is an exciting thing to be doing now, and you're doing a fantastic job. But the village got to live with this for a long time, and it's our responsibility to make sure we don't have a massive maintenance contract liability going forward. And I think we haven't really had time to look at the detail and do that sort of due diligence,
Well,
really.
what we
I'd like
found
to have a talk with John Carter, I'd like to have a talk with Ian and everybody else together, and just go through it in a bit more detail.
I think in the past, what we have tried to bring that up at Green Open Spaces, I think you have just said we have sufficient hours in directive hours, because I know you brought that up
But
at Green Open
let's
Spaces.
not go into that discussion now.
Yeah.
There's a very simple, it seems to me, requirement right now. In order to proceed with the funding, the funders want a clear statement that this parish council agrees that Compan is the preferred supplier. Stop. And I think all the issues you're raising are issues we're aware of, and that whilst that funding thing is progressing, we can be doing our homework and in getting a better understanding of the maintenance, the design if needs be, the other one, 99%, and so on. Because we know those things have to be done, and the timeline needs clarifying.
Yes.
But right now, it's just that we agree as a parish council that Compan goes on the application, and then we can see whether we're going to get anyone.
Otherwise we're going to miss the deadline for the funding.
And it has been very well considered. I mean, I take my hat off to particularly Sarah and Laura for
Yeah, well,
the
it's done
amount
lots
they've
of
done.
work and research. 'Cause
There has been a lot of work and a lot of research. It hasn't just been, oh, they look all right. It really hasn't.
No, you've been digging around getting the sort of information that you should do,
Quite a
isn't
few
it?
meetings,
Talking to
which is correct.
district
I mean, it
and-
is parishioners' money and that needs to happen.
And the park proposals were sent out the 26th of November,
That's
so
right.
it's only a couple of months ago, isn't it? I haven't got them to hand, but I'll look at them.
It was November meeting. We had the meeting. So,
So sorry, where did we get,
Can you remember the
voted?
proposal?
Can you remember to please?
Which I quite
you
like.
put it very nicely, Laura.
Propose that the Parish Council vote that the provider of our Hilton playground is Compan for the purposes of the funding application.
Brilliant.
Did we write it?
I said,
You got it, speaker.
Sorry, yes, so it's proposed by Sarah,
Yeah.
seconded by Laura. All those in favour? There you go.
Thank you very much.
And I assume that was Sarah's.
yeah,
Vote
sure you
for
had
it.
it.
Yes, it was,
sorry.
And
Can I request, now that's been made, that the plans or the initial draft plans that you've selected are put on the website for the village to see?
Yes, by all means, we can.
I think we
We can.
tried.
Yeah, I heard there was a link on
I
there
thought
that said
we had-
see the plans, and then it wasn't there. But now,
Okay, we will review that, yes, of course.
Because
But
really-
they will be the initial
Right,
four.
thank you.
Four plans.
With your best.
all of these names.
Thank you.
And if we'll try and get that.
I'll put both sorts in.
Yeah.
If you've got two in the
Get maybe Karen
It's
to
nice
put
to
it
show
on the website.
the commissioners that
Yeah,
we've considered all
absolutely.
the views and options and so on. But they were very clear about the preferences.
Lovely, thank you very much. So, 8 Good luck on 13th and the 18th.
Yeah.
Yeah, well done, Laura,
Is
because they're
otherwise-
really tough applications.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like
Excellent. Yes. Lovely. Thank you very much. Item 3.2 is upgrade regarding feasibility study.
Yeah.
Anne.
Well, all I can add to what you know already is that the design of the feasibility study has now been determined, and Mike Davis of the County Council has given us a sort of timeline. It's slightly depressing because it takes a long time, but they should be starting the feasibility study imminent now. It means that by July there will be a draft of their report, and that's the point at which he's saying he would like his first payment. They've been, I should have said, tendering for somebody to do the work within the budget set. So we don't have to pay anything until July, because I was anxious to know whether it was this year or not. So draft feasibility study outcome, as it were, by July, but they're saying that it wouldn't be final in November, which seems a long time to finalise a study. That's the way it works. So that's all I can add. There's a chap called Ron Stanley, is that right? Who's in charge of the feasibility study, so he's been in touch and got our feedback on the design of the feasibility study, and it's now that's it. It's been agreed, so we just have to hope we hurry and get on with it.
And they find a way through.
Yes, indeed.
Has he been given a brief? What's his task?
Well, the feasibility study was based on the information we originally sent,
Oh, right.
and which was the options we talked about here.
Yeah, yeah.
15 years ago, it seemed like. Sorry, a long time ago. So it was based on that, and it was a bit of to and fro just to make sure he's understood what we meant and vice versa. But he was very clear to us that the NMU feasibility study has no real constraints apart from the land that's out there, that they will, if they come up with an option we haven't thought about or they haven't thought about that seems to work, then they'll tell us.
Right.
So they're not limiting themselves to any ideas we had or they had, which I find quite helpful actually. I don't know these things, right?
And will they be approaching the landowners, or are they just sort of doing it in a theoretical?
Oh no, they'll be out marching about on and they know who the landowners are.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
And they've got various, Ian's one of the points of contact. Actually, I need to go through it with you, Nicola, because Joe was going to be a point of contact. So I need to let you know about that. But yeah, it's pretty well. They've done a lot. So I'm hoping it could be expertly done. Unless Ian, you've got anything to add.
No.
Any news, anything from CCC about the Gravely? We mentioned it last week, and we were going to have a word with them about it.
That's still ongoing.
Whatever it is.
Whatever it is.
Oh, I know what it is.
Would you like to share with
Yes,
us?
we
Because
do.
that's
Ah.
the question.
I think
Yes,
you'd like
okay.
when we discuss it.
Yes.
Oh, that's
Sorry?
right.
No.
No, Ian had
Could we
a-
ask Ian to find out?
Right.
Okay. It's the end of Gravely Way.
One moment. For the point of minutes officially, I'm closing the Parish Council meeting at 2024. Opening the floor. Ian.
It's the end of Gravely Way on the A road.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're aware there are quite a lot of very keen cyclists who come through the village and use this as a, from Fenstanton they come past the pair of bus
Yeah.
quite frequently. They also go down Gravely Way and then turn obviously right and then left. So what the proposal was to take a bit of highway land to make the crossing easier for those experienced cyclists. There was not a decision about which side of the road that it would be, so it could be on what I call the Patworth side, or it could have been on the Hilton side, but the proposal was to take a land to make it easier for those experienced cyclists, the sort of people that have like, dare I say, type of cyclists. It's not what I call the cyclists I think that Annie's talking about necessarily, about children or people like that. They were the experienced cyclists. So that was what was being suggested by the cycling fraternity, I think we'd call it. That did not come from me, and that was put forward by the cycling.
And it's still in discussion, or is it?
It's still in some discussion. Yes, I know how much it would cost.
So it's making a better staggered crossroads in a way.
Slightly, yes. I have seen the plan, or the very early draft plan. Not a bridge or anything like that. So it's just taking a bit of highway land, because obviously when you get out there, you come up to the crossroads. We all know where we're driving, so they take a bit of highway land. There's plenty of highway land on the right-hand side to make it easier for them to cross over to go to Gravely.
Okay. And so that's going through its feasibility study, no doubt.
It's under discussion, Peter. The cost was 138, and with 3 noughts, of course.
Yes.
It would be lovely if there was a bit of a run-in to the left, you know, coming from Manchester.
I'll tell you my personal view. My personal view is quite a lot of money for a few, very few.
I agree.
Okay, I'm much keener, bearing in mind the projects in Stanton, project here, I'm much more keener to actually try to get cycleways which are universal for children that might like to go to school, primary school, secondary school, the people that might like to go to St Ives or get on the guided bus. So I'm much more keen to perhaps try to be more universal. Okay? I think you've got a hint there, haven't you?
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's what we
It's only a
like.
hint. I'm still working on it.
Good man, good man. Thank you.
But of course, we've seen what cost the A14 is, and we know, therefore, that
So that's where it is.
£1.5 billion to build that, 138,000 down in the seems like pittance, doesn't it? But
we spent some else.
yeah, but it could be spent on a better route between here and villages to the north.
And remember, just to say, Peter, that Fen Stanton, they have secured, a little bit back to where the grant comes from, they have already secured money for their, not their feasibility,
Now,
for their project and where it will go, okay, from Fen Stanton. And that, in fact, there's another meeting coming up. We've already met with the cycling team, with the parish councillors, about the route, etc., etc. So they are more advanced than Hilton.
And that's after their feasibility study that they...
That's all gone,
Yeah.
Sarah.
So
That's
we're
passed. We
feasible.
know where it's going to go. We know the route it's going to go. We're down to the detail as you get down to through the process. You get to the detail about.
So we'll be there next January, won't we?
I hope so.
Perhaps not.
Dunno.
I've already had an invitation to apply for funding for the project itself. I can't say very much because I don't know what the route is.
And that's because it actually comes through my committee, so I prefer you not to say too much.
Thank you very much. Right, we're going to close,
Thank you.
we'll reopen the Parish Council meeting in 2029, so we'll do that. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Contributions there. And
For-
thank you, Anne, for the work you've done on it.
Oh.
It's just a slow process.
I'll be too old to cycle, but
Of course, no comments on the side of the bridges and council. Right. Okay. Yeah, we have. Right. 4.1 update on easement of tax copies. We do not have a further update. The only correspondence and thing I have had with the valuer is chasing the money. I have asked for the revised document that we asked for before, and that has not yet been forthcoming.
Are we in a stalemate because they won't give it to us because we haven't paid?
They haven't said that.
They won't give it to us.
I haven't said that yet, but now we've got Nicola on board, she can be able to spend a little bit more time during the working day, hopefully, to be able to push them a bit harder. So I'm sorry, there is no further information. Item 4.2, green open spaces. Existing maintenance contract finishes April 2019. Ken?
Okay. I'll deal with that bit last time.
Okay, it was brought up at the last meeting.
Yeah,
as well.
sure.
Councillor's
Yes.
advice.
So, as Ian discussed with you all, and you voted on the tree work to be done, undertaken this spring. So we've got, that's underway, that started on the 18th of Feb. It's going to be done in various stages all the way through March. So we should be finished by then. I don't think there's been any issues with that. The contractors are all happy. Just,
Did I see a tree down today?
you did. You saw a tree down in Grenfell Way.
Yes.
In fact, I meant to. I've heard it third hand, but I think we owe Craig Sutherland a vote of thanks for
Yes, I was
clearing
going to
it.
bring it up in
Oh, really?
another business.
Oh, right.
Just to say.
It's just I saw it.
Yeah, he
Just a
jumped
minute
onto
to
that.
say
I think
thank
Dave
you.
Ruddy was involved with
They
it.
went out last night and cut it up, but there is still debris.
There's still a trunk.
Yeah. And there is still a dangerous tree leaning apparently as well. A dead
Right.
tree.
I haven't had a chance to get out today to look at it, but
Sorry, that's taken.
okay. Yeah. So anyway, tree work's underway. Should be done on schedule. The volunteer group are meeting on the 8th of March, this Friday. We're going to take down the hornbeam. If you remember, there was 2 hornbeams which create a very dark area adjacent to the ford, where the path got very muddy. Hornbeams are very dense trees. So we've taken one down, and the second one comes down on Friday, and then the stumps will be ground prepared to take a little copse of birch trees, which are much lighter. So that's the plan. Also on Friday, there's some work going on in the Grove, which has been instrumental.
Do you want me to say more on that?
Well, you can do if you like.
Just very briefly, Ian, Kieran and myself and Mark, we're going to start slowly clearing the grove within Kieran's directions of what shrubs, what small pieces can be taken out. We're also going to have a nice spray can, so if anybody has a preference for spray can, tell me. And we're going to mark up where the woodland path is going to go for the children. On the road side of the woodland path, we are actually going to clear the ivy and eventually try and get it back to grass, so it is a much nicer area. What we're trying to do is get a clear view to the road at both ends. And we will, after the 8th, after we've done the heavy work with the chainsaw, we will be calling our volunteers in a weekend or 2 weekends after that to start helping us get rid of some of this ivy before it's too late because of the birds. So that would be great.
And have you considered face masks for that work?
Face masks for
Ivy.
When you're shifting ivy?
We're not going to be pulling the ivy off. It is just, if we pull the ivy off the trees, it'll kill the trees, because the sun will burn. You just cut the ivy, and it slowly comes off.
Carrying on with the theme of ivy, on the 9th of March, Ian has organised another working group which is going to carry on trimming ivy around the village. So hopefully, I think that then completes the circuit, which has taken us 3 years to do. Then we'll start again. There's 4 other items on the tree work for the volunteer group to do. So we're going to try and carve some time out this month and get that done, so that we can be absolutely up to date with all our tree work, which has been very, very good.
Which is saving the Parish Council somewhere in the region of £700.
Well, that's what we've done today. I think we've got, with these other 4 items and the hornbeam, I think we're looking at another similar figure.
Which is great. You might need it.
Other items, you noticed probably the roping off of the green bar pavilion. It seems to have done the trick. I haven't seen any new real marks on the grass there, although it has been quite dry. So my intention is to keep it there unless there's any strong objection for the rest of March, and then reevaluate it, see how wet it all gets. And the same with the maze. I think the plan was to have it open at Easter, which is normal. We mentioned on the agenda benches. Yeah. So
Great. Ian mentioned this in the council's whatever we call
So-
them, items. And you said benches, will be discussed, I'll say.
Okay. So benches, the unofficial bench maintenance group has met, and we've come up with a plan. So the
Gosh, who's that?
Yeah,
So
I'm
very
a bench
unofficial.
maintenance group. Sounds
Very
like
grand
cloak
title.
and dagger, doesn't it?
basically there's the benches that are involved in this are the called WI bench, which is the one by the Maze picnic bench. There's the one by the Home Oak, and then there's the one by Pavilion, which is still there but is in a bit of a sorry state. So the plan is we're going to remove the slabs and the concrete that's in the ground on the WI bench and the Home Oak bench. Well, the bench is not there, all the hard core and stuff is there. Recondition the ground, let the grass grow again, and just let that come back to just heal itself, really. Then the bench that was next to the Home Oak, we're going to reposition that, and we're going to do that week commencing the 18th of March, and that will be put back in the ground again. And then
What, in the same spot?
no, we're going to move it so it's in line with the other benches at in front of the pavilion, because that's where people sit to look at the cricket. The other one by the Oak we thought looked a bit incongruous, and so we're just going to move it around a bit. Then in 5-6 weeks' time, we'll put the other benches back when the ground's had time to recover. It does involve pouring a bit more concrete in, but we're going to try and do it in a little bit lighter way, so less materials involved underneath the benches.
Is it not good to keep the slabs for people to, put...
What we want to do is get the grass growing there, you put the benches in, and then just evaluate it and see. If they wear through to earth straight away, then we'll have to put some surface in there. But if they don't, and the grass maintains itself, that looks far more natural.
How about using our little
Potentially, that's another option we can look at. But the thing to do is we let it heal and then put the benches back in and then just evaluate it. So that's the plan.
Will the grass be cut underneath the bench? Because some of the benches, no offence, just if grass is growing up through the benches, it's going to look a bit unkempt.
Well, there's benches owned by the old oak tree, on the other side from the pavilion. There's no hard standing under those, and they seem to be okay. So we're just going to monitor it.
And what about the picnic bench?
Picnic bench has had some attention, and it's stable.
Is that? It doesn't look good.
You want to say
One
the
end
ground?
was quite broken, wasn't it? So it was leaning
How long ago did you do it? Yeah?
almost every day when I walk past.
It might be in the street.
Oh, right.
It's got about a 1 degree lean.
Right.
So it's had some attention.
But it could do with being tidied up in terms of its condition.
I mean, is it possible, as we're considering benches, to have maybe a second picnic bench around that area? Because it is a popular area. We had some sunshine last week, and the families were out having picnics and out on the green, and it just seems like that one bench is, when it is sunny, that's very well used, and it would be nice to maybe have two picnic benches.
That's another discussion point. Bring that up some of the time, but this is the plan for what we've got at the moment. I forgot to add the pavilion bench, the one that's in a real bad state, that's going to need replacing.
Right.
So at some point we'll be coming to the Parish Council with a cost for that. That's a bench, I believe, that the Parish Council has left some money to look after.
So is it? I can't remember the name of the family, but it was some time ago. There was a bit of an affair about it. It got run over and then was replaced. And there was some money set aside.
What, the bench got run?
Yeah. But it's history. It's ancient history. But there was a little bit. I think there was about £160 donated to the Parish Council. at the time the bench was given for future sake.
So could that be on the agenda for next month then, as a discussion?
What's that?
Replacing that bench and another
An additional
second
bench.
picnic bench.
Certainly
So we can't
the
discuss it
replacement of
tonight.
the current bench is, I think we'll have to, that could be discussed, yeah. As an additional bench, I don't know, I mean, that's,
To be discussed.
That's to be discussed.
We've discussed additional benches in the past, and it was agreed that we would move more along the line of when people wanted, if they wanted to put a bench out there in memory of somebody, that we felt that the green was full of benches. The Parish Council made that decision, and it was agreed that there was going to be some sort of plan drawn up for where you might want a tree. Is that right?
yeah.
Yeah. That was
Suggested, yeah.
and agreed, wasn't it? As a way forward on the bench situation.
However, Ian was saying there is a bench missing from part of the village that hasn't ever been replaced.
You know where that was?
That Lou King put that in
Sorry?
across the other side of the football pitch
Yeah, that's
by the
right.
road, but that was Lou King. He made it. It was made of metal
Thank you.
and wooden straps.
Thank you, John.
Okay, so at least you know that something's happening. We commence on the 18th of March. Work starts.
Sorry, it was on the football side of the brow that links the football pitch with the wilderness.
Okay. Well, that could go on. Perhaps we'll reinstallation. But have a look at that one. Yeah. Thank you.
So, sorry, going back to benches, does that come under the green open spaces?
Yes.
Because so what committee have you got? What bench committee have you got?
No.
It's for people doing work on behalf, just out of the goodness of their
Oh, I
heart.
see, right, okay.
Repairing things about passing the charge on to the bench.
Oh, right.
There are bits and pieces done around. Somebody's been cleaning the playground with no recompense, no support, just been going and getting
I
it
think
done.
there was a nice email saying thank you very much.
Yeah. So,
And did notice.
thank you. Yeah. So there are little bits of work people do around
Yeah.
which are there to try and improve what's out there.
Can I just be very, to just ask Sharon, as we keep talking about benches and keep going around, I'm listening to the two of you. Sharon, are you asking that you on the next agenda you would like to have an open discussion about benches and how many benches and review the Parish Council's decision from a year, 2 years ago about our bench situation and I'm only listening to you, I'm just asking, is that what you're asking?
It would be nice, I think, to review whether we could have a second picnic bench.
Okay.
Or replace both of them. I don't replace that one and have, two that match.
We'll discuss it in the next open spaces.
And then you can find some costings.
Yeah.
And if you have costings, Sharon, provide them to the green open spaces, because obviously we have to consider, because there's going to be a request for money should the application for the play park get approved. No, but there's going to be a request for money there, isn't there? So, and it might have to be a staged thing, that it won't be out of this year's budget, next year's or whatever have you. Okay, thank you. Next.
Contract.
Mm-hmm.
So, the maintenance contract was, as Ian, I believe,
He did.
spoke about at the last meeting. It was up for renewal this April, and he explained that because we hadn't got the clerk at that time, and because this is a significant financial commitment, that we would wait, John very kindly suggested to roll the contract on current conditions with no changes, and because John is intending to retire in 2 years, that it would suit him and potentially council to do this for 2 years. I don't know whether Ian explained, but really the contracts worked extremely well. I mean, when we reviewed it at the Open Spaces meeting, there wasn't actually anything that we wanted to change. So at the moment, it seems like there isn't any pressing reason to change it. If we If John's happy to do that and it's got us through while we're changing clerks, then it seems like a sensible thing to do is to roll the contract on. And I would propose that we do it for 2 years.
I'll second that.
Can I just, sorry, before we go on that, we did mention at the last meeting, and I have raised before about the fact, what is included in the maintenance contract in terms of the park and whether it is enough. So we were going to, I think Kieran, you did say you were going to look at that at some point.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously an element of contracts already.
Yeah, there's something about the grass cutting that there wasn't.
There was, well, I don't really know until we know. I'm a bit behind, really, we've probably gathered, in understanding exactly what the design's going to be, and I think we've still got quite a lot of discussion to go in terms of detailing and how it might affect the maintenance regime of the play park. Now, when we discussed it, when we first said about rolling the contract over, you brought this up, Laura,
Yeah.
and we have a certain amount of flexibility
Okay.
to get us through a year or two. But ultimately, yes, we would have to address that. And
Because we don't know at the moment whether it's going to be grass or
No,
plastic.
I don't necessarily
either.
mean inside the playground fence itself. I'm just thinking we're going to do this work around the grove to clear some trees, clear ivy, etc. We don't want to do all that work, make it all lovely and clear, and then 6 months down the line or next year it will grow back and be overgrown again. So there needs to be something.
It will do. So it's a bit like the ivy. So we've got that set up now. So we've got a regular thing, which is volunteer group, and that looks after that. So.
I'm just, you know what I'm saying though, there needs to be something agreed in something, whether it's a working party, whether it's added to the list of tree maintenance, tree work, grass cutting. It needs to be included and not just left off just because it's just the playground, because that's part of the project and part of making it open and user-friendly for people. So I think we just need to make sure we bear it in mind.
I think we do, because there's work going on this week. Hang on, John. There's work going on this week, is it?
Yeah.
To clear that area. Now, that isn't a paid-for piece of work, it's
Oh,
a
no,
volunteer piece of work, and I'm sure that if the Parish Council were told that there were things overgrowing in there, people would go and clear it. There would be a group set up,
Yeah.
and then people would
So we
do
don't
it.
have to put all that sort of stuff in any contract or plan or anything, that's just
No,
ad
because that's
hoc.
purely voluntary.
Just diarised.
Okay.
It needs to be diarised.
But we did have, not the contract then, maybe I'm talking about the policy. There was an environmental management policy which has a little statement about the play park in.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what I'm referring to then, rather than the contract itself, in terms of the
Obviously,
payments.
that whole area hasn't had a massive amount of attention.
No.
So, and that's
it's getting
changed.
coming.
So we will deal with it. But really what I'm trying to say to you is that we can decouple this decision on the contract, because I think there are other ways of dealing with it, voluntary group, directed out.
Okay, so maybe I'm missing up two different things. The contract is one on the side.
No, you're quite right to raise it. It's just, I think, hopefully,
It's covered by.
we explain.
Yeah, okay. Thanks.
John, you had your hand up.
Yeah. How does the
Close
working
meeting
group?
at- hang on, John. Get me through on this one. 2048, we're closing meeting to take a thing from the floor. John.
How does the working group envisage clearing the ivy? You're not just going to pull it, are you? Because you.
No.
Sharon, Sarah, sorry, yes,
I have taken instruction from Ian Stott and also from Kieran of how this should be dealt with, and we're following their instructions, John. So
it's going to be cut, not ripped,
I would
from what you were
ask
saying.
Ian.
earlier.
Yeah, so cut 4-inch piece out the bottom of each stem.
You mean off the trees?
No, I'm talking about the ground.
I think
If
Ian's
you're going to
deal
have
with
grass
that one,
there, how are you going to
isn't
clear
he?
the ivy? That's what I'm asking you.
Oh, right.
Ian
Because
has,
pulling it's going to be no good
I
because you're
agree
leaving
with
the
you.
roots in.
John, I agree with you absolutely. I believe that Ian, sadly he's not here tonight.
No. Ian has a plan, John.
Yeah,
Um,
and no,
to
it's
deal
not
with
good.
it.
Yeah. So it will be dealt with, and I'm sure it will be dealt with in a way, if we are trying to open that up to make it more visible, it will be done in a way that it is not going to grow back, or, as strangely plants do grow back, it will be addressed again ongoing. I think it would be fair to say, because there is a recognised aim to keep the area clearer, to allow the view, because that was one of the concerns that was raised about
By the parishioners.
around the Grimwood type effect of the play park. And so that is a piece of work that will be ongoing. It's not just going to happen once, is it? Because that ivy's been there, growing there for years. Is that right, John?
Well, it's down to you, it's not down to me, but at the end of the day, there are tree stumps in there as well that have to be got out.
There are, John, you're
Yeah.
absolutely right.
So you'll need a digger or something to get those tree stumps out.
You offer it.
No, I'm talking about
A machine,
a little digger.
I know where to go.
John, we do
Well, as long as
understand
you're on
it's
top
not
of it, I
a...
don't mind. I'm just telling you
Thank
from
you for
my
your
point of
concern,
view.
John. Okay. I'm sure the group is looking at that to address it in a safe and compact way to meet what is being looked at for the play park.
Just to add, the part of the work that's going to be done on Friday is just to see what state the ground is in, how many tree stumps there are there, and just to assess what we have to do. So that's what we're hoping to do on Friday.
Right, I'll revert back to the PC meeting at 20:51. Right, okay. Any other questions regarding the maintenance contract? Okay. Kieran has proposed that this is renewed for a period of 2 years.
I'll second
I already have.
Oh, right.
Thank you very much.
Third it.
But that's fine, if you'd like to be recorded as.
No, it's not.
All those in favour? Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, John, for your continued hard work.
Can I just put one more thing in green open spaces? I did ask for it to be put on last month, and I did actually email as well with it. We need to talk about the second football net. The green open spaces.
Who did you email?
I did do a covering email, I think it was to yourself, but I think,
Right.
yeah, just say, could we include these points
Sorry, I
in?
didn't.
And last month I did at the end of the session say, we need to talk about football nets, because we did agree to put the second one up.
I don't recall that.
We did,
You
you,
did, do you remember?
yes.
Last month?
No,
Not
not
last
last
I was
month,
going to say.
a few months ago. And I think I brought it up a couple of times. So I
It isn't
know,
on because I haven't got it to go on, so you can have it on for next month. I'm sorry, but I haven't got it. So when I was compiling the menu, the agenda, I didn't have that as an agenda item. So it can go on for next month.
okay.
Okay, is that it on green open spaces?
Yeah.
Thank you. Bus survey now. Now I did.
Did you really need it?
No, I did send out the information that Anne sent last month because I thought it would help you to understand what was sent out.
Yes, as an aside, and that's not a criticism because all the Parish Council thought they were responsible really, but the survey was done on Survey Monkey, but as far as I can tell, the Survey Monkey wasn't set up in such a structured way that made analysis easy, which was a bit daft.
No.
Anyway, I've done my best with yards of raw data, and I sent this round last time.
I did, and that's why I sent it out again so it was fresh in everybody's mind.
Yeah, well done, man. What I've had to start with is the assumption as to what is Hilton, because it's all been analysed by postcode. So I'm hoping, from what I could find on Royal Mail's website, these are the postcodes for Hilton, so I hope it's roughly right. 266 people from this postcode responded. I won't go through a lot of detail because it's really the main message I want to get to. Interesting in terms of age profile, it's below pension age, so the most of the respondents. In terms of why people are travelling, a whole host of reasons here. Shopping seems to come out highest, so that would include mood, entertainment and social, and then the last one doesn't have a title on it, but it's connecting with others, the far right bar on Hilton 2. So a number of different reasons, but interestingly the third one, health matters, green, is pretty high there as well. So that says to me there are lots of reasons why people want a bus service, and they're not currently going to get it beyond this coming March. Travel times, well, look at that. It's just any time of the day or night practically. Again, the mornings 9 to 12 comes out highest in terms of people likely to travel. Well, this doesn't tell you whether that's to or from or both.
True.
But days of the week, well, every day bar Sunday. So it actually says to me there's quite a lot of demand for bus services in this area. And zipping over to number 5, access needs, so this is whether you wanted to take with you stuff. Push chairs and prams, not surprisingly perhaps top of the pops, fold-up bikes, and then walking frames. So again, there's different reasons why people want to get onto buses, but also in such a way they can take all this stuff with them. And they're not there.
And the beauty of graphs, of course, is the columns are as high as they are on this. And this is for 80, 90 people. This is for this is
indeed,
for 7.
the scales are unhelpful.
So we have 80 here, and then we have 7 columns looking. Really, it should be down.
I'm going to recheck all the scales on the left, because I understand why it's ended up the way it has. And then desired destinations. So I'm just, at this stage, I have, before I went holiday even, gone back to the people leading this, St Ives, to say, can we meet and talk about the results? I'm not sure if I've got the gist right or not, what the rest have done. I have seen what Fen Stanton has done, which is very sophisticated analysis, but I haven't heard yet back as to what now.
Yes, because the whole idea of this, because Ian and I went to the original one.
Yeah.
Did you go to a subsequent one at St Ives Town?
No.
No, I don't think they had a subsequent one.
No, I only went when they had decided to go to the bus survey.
Yeah. And it was that they were going to invite Cambridgeshire County Council to go along and present them with all the...
Exactly. So I don't know where we are on that. There's
No.
a source of some frustration given that our bus services are due to stop soon, and I've again raised it to say, oh,
What are you doing?
because there's 11 different parishes involved in it. I can't imagine
were.
it could go quiet. I think this is crazy. So I will continue to pursue that. As you can see, this is not a brilliant bit of analysis. It was done really hastily. And if you have any other comments of whatever dire sort, I really don't mind at all, because it might prompt me to make a better go of it.
It's a tough call, isn't it? Because the original survey, when we sent round a survey, the majority of people that was, in the responses that we had, the majority of people who used the buses were of an age where they received a bus pass.
That's right.
Or they were going to, well, they weren't going to the colleges because the buses were pulled before the colleges were, the buses were pulled, and then people made alternative arrangements and then the buses were put back in. And we know that the number of people that were using buses were the majority were on bus passes, so there was no income generated, and that's why the services were pulled.
But this would suggest something different, wouldn't it?
This would suggest that there's a desire to use it.
Yes, exactly. And it was quite deliberately set up to say to people, imagine that you have no car.
Yeah.
In order to really get to the heart of what might be possible.
And the issue at the moment is that the bus goes from here to St Ives on a Friday, takes an hour, because it goes all around the houses and goes up. So there was somebody at the meeting who had done a bit of getting on the bus anonymously, and I said, let's take you on the bus. Surprise, surprise. It starts at Hilton and it takes an hour to get to St Ives, which is 10 minutes.
You can walk. Yeah. You can actually walk it.
But almost cycle. No, there's no cycle path.
And when we do this wrong, it says bus survey results is 1, and you've got 2 codes, and it is the pensionage.
So
They're 4 colours.
Four colours.
They're 4 colours.
There's one right at the bottom.
But is that meant to be pension age, pension age?
It's above pension age, below
Oh.
pension age.
In education and
Don't even
under 5 years.
Do not document something.
It's on film.
So if I got see an email about one of those Cambridgeshire County Council ones that I get that no one else seems to get.
I think we all
It's about the bus.
saying it's going to be
So it's going to be
extended.
extended, yeah.
But only till the say
Just for
so.
another year.
No, well, that was, well, if it's the one I'm thinking of, it was extended until this April, because it was going to stop last year.
But there was one more recently.
Yeah, there was a,
It's going longer, wasn't it?
So,
It's going longer, wasn't it?
yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
it's gonna be
beg
one.
your pardon.
Which is because there's no hard
It's not
decision
resolution
made
yet.
on
Yeah.
the bus services around. So,
Are we going to publicise these results to the village? or
I'd
are
like
we really
to
ready to-
tart them up so that they actually make some sense first and draw some conclusions, and then I'm happy to do that. So I'll get that done by the next meeting, and hopefully by then I'll also have some information from the wider participating parishes and stuff.
thanks, Anne, because that was a thankless task putting that together. I did. So it wasn't a thankless task. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 4.4 is speed watch update on progress. Laura, you had a
Yeah.
request at the end of last meeting.
Yeah, so as you can probably tell, the whole speedwatch setup is going ridiculously slowly, trying to actually get any speedwatch sessions set up. So we do have 5 people, I believe, now trained. I've managed to get in touch with all of them, and Mike Brooks from the police have agreed on the locations and come out and safety vetted them, or whatever they have to do. He's ordered some new equipment, which he now has ready to deliver. We've now got someone who is willing to store the equipment delivered. It's just a matter of that I think they have to do a first roadside session with Mike Brooks in attendance and arrange that. So it's just a little bit, I'm a bit of a go-between, so I contact everyone and ask for a date, and then everyone gets back to me with some drafts, and then I contact him, and then, you know, and it just seems to take forever. I had, in my last email, I just included everyone, so I just sent it to the police guy and with all the volunteers in copy and said, maybe you can liaise and find a date amongst yourselves, because I think once we've got the first one set up, then they can just get on and sort sessions themselves, if maybe we give them some guidance from the Parish Council as to how often we would like them to do it, at what sort of frequency, those sorts of things, or what is our plan in terms of that process. I don't know how much coordination we need going forward after they're set up, but I apologise for how long it seems to be taking to actually get any sessions done, but it just is...
Not to worry, you kind of took it on to coordinate all that, so thank you.
So I don't know, do we have a particular requirement or desire for a number of sessions? Are we just asking them to do it at a frequency that they're able to, or...?
That would be, the policeman would tell you that, how often you want it.
That's right.
Okay, so that's up to them to...
Because it was to support an initiative that
Well, it was originally,
council
wasn't it?
aides put forward to, so there was a bit of work being done about overnight HGVs with the apprentice policemen looking out for that, and they told us that they wanted speedwatch data to run alongside that.
Yeah, originally wasn't that in preparation for a particular meeting, and they wanted us to collect 2 weeks, a 2-week block of data.
But he can nevertheless
So that's
still give you
part
some
of it,
guidance,
Yeah.
but he can
But
still
so
give you
ask,
some
yeah,
guidance
asking what he wants
on
now.
frequency. And one of the things that I've found useful for other purposes is to say, well, who can do Mondays, who can do Tuesdays? You get them to spread it over the course of a week, so you're getting the input on different days. But the policeman should be able to tell you.
Okay. So that's it, that's people here.
That's what you asked.
Well, that's what I was getting at in terms of who organises it, is that whether it needs any organisation. If anyone else is willing to take it forward to organise it, then great. I was sort of thinking that maybe, obviously they've set up their first session, we don't need any organisation, the group will just organise it themselves, but I don't know if we do need a counsellor to be coordinating it. And so if anyone has the availability to do that, because I'm lacking availability.
I think there was probably a big sigh of relief when you put your name forward to take that on in the first place from everybody else because of the time commitments.
Are you asking someone just to try and put that together so they can get it off the ground?
And then to see what the police want to do, how often they want it done, and to coordinate with the police the analysis of the results.
I don't mind working with you on doing a bit that you can't find time to do, but I'm not doing analysis.
The other option is through Nicola, is if we diarise things like prompts, so once or whatever, the participants are prompted to do the speed watch and get the data into the policeman, that kind of thing. It just seems to me a lot of it could be automated if I can put it that way.
I was just thinking previously, Speed Watch Group kind of organised themselves, didn't they? It was
They
very
did,
much,
but times moved on.
yes.
Times moved on there, and we don't need to go back there.
No, I know.
There are still some speed check result things going on in the village, as you had, I sent you out the thing that came from RADS, which is Hilton Residents Against Traffic Speeding, of a survey that was done on the 26th of February. But I think if you two could liaise together and talk to the police, you didn't have your hand up there, did you, Dan?
I wasn't even listening.
I thought your hand was going up.
I didn't stop ages ago.
I was just going to finish.
Perhaps you could try and get from the police what they actually want. Yeah,
I just
and
don't
then we
know,
can.
like Mike Brooks isn't really the police person, he's just the speed watch coordinator as far as I
Phil.
can make out.
Was it Phil? That's another policeman.
All I was going to say, Peter, is does this actually need a parish councillor to oversee it, or is this something that the clerk can take on to coordinate between the 5 volunteers or the 5 people that have done the training, and is that something Nicola could take on to liaise? Because it seems like a lot of admin.
Yeah, that's the thing, it's like
and
getting email around email.
yeah, so is that something Nicola could take on liaising
I think
between?
it's something we could ask Nicola to look at in a few months' time.
Yeah.
You want to put her off straight away?
No.
You want to get.
It's a great task.
It's something to get your teeth into, isn't it?
Well,
Well,
seems
no.
to like that.
No, I don't know how much work is involved.
So perhaps
Just,
if
Okay.
you both had a chance to chat with the policeman.
Well,
I
I
think
don't
there's
know
enough.
who- no.
I think there's enough policeman around to have some details of that.
Okay.
And Ian Bates as well.
Yeah, and Ian is.
In other words, where is this going, this survey? Is it
Yeah.
actually still going somewhere?
Yeah.
Because there's
And there's
something
a
else
guy
about
called Phil
lorries
something.
later in the agenda, isn't there? So is that
Oh, yeah.
passing over this?
No, this is speed watch is a different thing. This is about speed watch is about.
Yeah, but if the lorries stop coming through here because they signed the agreement,
No,
they
speed watch
won't
is about speeding vehicles.
speeding, well,
And then you've
it
got
was mainly lorries that started this, wasn't it?
lorries outside the HGV types
Yes.
and speeding vehicles through the village are the two prongs of attack.
The reason that we were doing the speed watch was specifically as requested by the police to gather that data. So
Yeah.
I don't know which contact.
We'll have a look. We'll see if we can do something. Right.
We'll catch up.
Yeah. And then, like I say, we had some results, and the reason they're here is that obviously there's a request that we treat this as official correspondence and record the receipt of this in your minutes. So that is recording the receipt of the speed watch date for the 26th of February. Thank you very much.
This is
St.
very
Ives
watch, don't it?
Road, well, it says speed check, so, and it came from Hilton Residents Against Traffic Speeding, so I didn't see it just says Community Road Watch. All right, so and as it said in the email, nothing much changes. 30% of the vehicles at Crossroads was exceeding the limit, and talk about 44-ton trucks speeding through the village. So, and that's where we want to take forward the speed watch data with this data and the stuff that this other police lot was supposed to be doing.
And what about the police vans? Because they've been catching a few people. They've been out quite regularly, so I
Good.
understand.
But that's a response
But how
to
do we get the data from them?
ask,
Right.
I would suggest.
And
And
just
see if we get it.
I was going to discuss this on Pat, but as we were talking about now, this road watch update. So this has gone out to everybody.
I sent it to everybody yesterday.
Yeah. So this was part of Roadwatch, which is what we agreed that the council would pay that £50 towards. So there's a number on here that have got a letter E next to them, and that's where all those companies that have been named speeding, they've been written to notify them that someone from their company is speeding, and that's just to. That's what Roadwatch have been doing, basically. That's what they do on a regular basis, so that's what that money is going towards.
It says number 47 was found to have its refund expired in August. And was reported to DVLA. So it does show that there is this one at 47 miles per hour is quite outstanding, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think, do you want to put a recommendation?
Yeah, recommendation: consider funding and installing pedestrian crossing signs either side of the Paddock Junction to alert drivers to that possibility. I'm going to have to find the cost of those, and we'll put that on the agenda, and we'll ask Nicola whether she can investigate the costing of those signs.
If we're going to do costing signs, could we also maybe look at, and I know we've done it in the past, but if we're going to discuss signs and costing, you know, the signs that actually monitor your speed and say thank you, because our signs still don't seem to work properly. Can we just look and discuss the costing of those signs replacing the two that we've got in the village at the moment?
So
they don't seem to do anything.
You know, we've got the funding application that Hills Action on Traffic Group did for the new SID signs, and the ones that flash up with what your speed is.
Oh, right.
So we're waiting to hear back from them on the 12th of March.
Oh,
so whether that one has been.
So hopefully we'll hear something next month on that. That would be fantastic. Okay.
Sorry.
No, I forgot.
It's fun though, isn't it? So, all right. So that's speed watch. All right. 5.1 precept. So we got a letter basically saying precepts being approved, and that money should come through in 30th of April, I think it is. Yeah, one payment on the 30th of April. Okay, everybody happy? 5.2, there's a request in to erect a cross on the green from the lake on the evening on the 18th of April, and to take it down on the Tuesday morning, which strangely is the 23rd of April.
It's availability of people to do it.
And he's got someone lined up.
Yeah, so that's why it's strange.
Yes. And Easter's late this year. Not that it has anything to do with it. So, something we've agreed in the past.
Yeah, do you tend to ask Rick? Rick by Rick?
I don't know. We should do. Right, okay. We need to let the common ones know. But as a parish council, yeah, we do.
Non-permanent structure.
Which is, it goes up, comes down, within those timescales, and very good at doing that.
Yeah.
So I would propose that we approve that.
I'll second it.
All those in favour?
Go for it.
Thank you. I second that. And we'll talk about that side. 5.3 is a request for CC for information on local initiatives that support older people to socialise with others. Request by... So I'm...
Parish Council about it.
He drops off. He drops off, he's not paying any attention.
With the exception of one or two
Yeah.
younger members of the parish.
So that was... so there was an email out, one of the ones that you may have got, from Cambridgeshire County Council, which they're asking to look... You've got that. They're asking for just a bit of information about what might be available within the local community. Okay, so I have asked. Was going to ask Nicola if she could just look through Spectrum and on the village hall and just reply to Cambridgeshire County Council with those social activities that are available within the village. Okay. we're asked, it's a little community thing. Everybody happy with that? Yeah.
Can I just think this, did you say this Spectrum Village Hall and the churches? I'm just conscious,
Yeah.
not that I've been, but the church. the
They have a
churches.
timetable within
Yeah.
within the spectrum, don't
Because
they, of what their activities are. I know that Adult Social Services did a similar type of thing a couple of years ago, and there was something as well. Yeah? And you've got the community website as well. So, thank you very much. 5.4. A14, discuss information provided by the Parishioners. So you have got, as requested, so there's been a lot of work done by Alan James, Chair of the Cambridgeshire Campaign for the Protection of Rural England, and has raised concerns in respect to Hilton and other communities at the prospect of the A14 upgrade to a motorway status. Increased speed will mean increased levels of noise and increased emission of carbon dioxide and pollutants. There has been no re-evaluation of the traffic effects on many local roads, only on junctions in the old A14. The application indicates that this road will be subject to a VNSL, or whatever that might be. Our reading of Ian 161/15 and Ian 8707 is that this will require lit gantries and other signage at intervals between 600 metres and 1200 metres along the length of the road, as we were advised at the outset of the meeting. We read Ian 174/13 and Ian 175/13 as saying the only pollution modelling has been for nitrogen dioxide and PM10. No mention is made of PM25 or 2.5, which is about air quality. Directive is very clear, there is no safe limit. So that's all very, and there's loads of papers, and it's all very informative, but unfortunately the consultation date closed on the 28th of February. So we submitted, or as discussed at the last meeting, we've been advised that the application has been submitted. This is application by Highways England to upgrade the new A14 development to motorway status. I'm taking this opportunity to write on behalf of Hilton Parish Council. Parish Council was disappointed that this change in the scheme has been proposed now and was not raised when the original DCO was submitted, and the opportunity to comment was only open for a relatively short time period. As you'll be aware, during the planning application, we made representations to the Planning Inspectorate for consideration of increased mitigation steps in relation to the potential effects of the new road on Hilton. Highways England proposed no increased steps beyond those proposed, and the scheme was approved on that basis. Now that the proposal is for the route to be converted to motorway status, we would ask if there is any opportunity for increased mitigation to be imposed as part of the agreement. In particular, we would request that the whole of the new scheme be laid with very low noise road surface. Sorry, I always struggle with that at meetings, which was to be laid in certain places but not the whole length. Additionally, we are uncertain what extra gantries or lighting the proposal would bring. Could the bunds be increased from the 2 metre height set out in the scheme? We would also ask you to consider what effects the upgrade to motorway status will have on local traffic and users of the A14. Please do advise if there are any plans for a more detailed consultation process, or is this merely a cursory consultation to comply with regulations? So that's what was... Alan sent all this lot in, hasn't he?
He's submitted it on behalf of CPRE, yeah.
Yeah.
Is it worth just sending something else in? And that's late.
Yeah, we can always send something else in.
On the gantries, because when you read through the information,
Yes.
it's all about this, it's a non-material change.
And it is a material change.
Well, some of the facts and figures about speeding or whatever, they say is all in the area that you get normally, so I don't think you get much hearing on that. But if there are additional gantries, then that is a material change, and it might just be worth saying, okay, well, let's...
Because it never came out and told us what the gantries
We never saw the gantries
mentioned with
He
Mike.
didn't say that, he said that at the meeting when we had it here, and I specifically asked him that question, because I knew full well. He's a slippery character, Mike.
I'm inviting
Yes.
comment from the floor.
He is a very slippery character.
At that meeting, they just talked about the fact the signs would be blue instead of green, pretty much all he said, wasn't it? Whereas
We
If you
did-
just look now, from today, you'll have a gantry across the full road. I think that's going to be between the fenced Stanton Bridge, because they wouldn't have put it where it is today if it hadn't been. And I mean, anything this side of the village, facing out towards the road, is got to be affected by that, because that's going to be high. And if it's lit constantly with changing speed limits, information, and God knows what, it's going to be one hell of a light pollutant. And then you've got another one just the other side of the B1040. And that's not so big, but it's, you know.
I mean, we asked some very specific questions at that meeting, didn't we all? I mean, the one advantage of being videoed is we have that evidence. So I think we'll have to go back and see what he confirmed and didn't.
My recollection was, maybe you can remember more accurately, but we asked the question, would there be any more gantries? And he said no.
That's right.
But then when he was pushed on how much more they would be lit and
Yeah.
they would be used, he was a bit
Yeah,
specific.
that is true, I think.
Is that right?
Yeah, I think he seemed to suggest, oh yeah, they would be on more because obviously they have the speed limit on, whereas they didn't.
Whereas as an original road, they'd only be used in emergencies.
I've asked Highways England, they take forever to come back, what the specification for an expressway is, because their argument was that, well, they're all over the country plan, was that this was designed to an expressway standard. It was minimal changes to turn it into a motorway. Now, I don't believe gantries are allowed on expressway, so it couldn't have been designed if it's only designed as an expressway.
The small ones,
According
Yeah.
to
the main
Alan's
ones.
email, Alan's letter, he said that they reviewed the DCO and find no occurrence of the word expressway in it, and the word motorway is only used in the context of A14 junction with existing motorways.
Did he not say that the expressway was a class of road that was not agreed upon, and therefore you were there? That was his explanation for why we finished.
But there are Highways England documents full of expressway plans, very specific. So anyway, I think we need to follow it up.
But one of the other things I'd like us to pick up on, one of the points he made in that submission, about the changes to air quality levels, because we battled on about that at the time and we paid no attention because it wasn't in the rule book. But apparently it's now into the rule book, so we really ought to pay more attention to the particulates issue, the PO 2.5, and the various standards of some of the other measures.
I think
what they're going to do about it, that's a lot more trees.
I think that the letter obviously is very detailed and is very good. So we could simply send a letter saying we support the comments contained within the letter by CPRE, and that we had Highways at a meeting and they told us there wouldn't be any more gantries, and it doesn't appear to be.
And that the standards for air quality have
Well, that's the willingness.
And noise, we pushed them on noise, and they said, well, the modelling is on the speed of the traffic, and therefore that's what you've got. Now the speed is going to be increased, the noise will go up. So again, he was.
And that's why we asked for that.
At that meeting, he suggested there won't be a speed increase because it's the same speed
Exactly,
on the road.
exactly.
It's actually, in the application, they're predicting a speed increase by between 8.9 and 10.5 kilometres an hour. So they're now saying, well, they've applied based on the fact there will be a speed increase, and that's a 50% increase in vehicle noise because of that. That's quite a significant increase.
So I think harsher reinforcement of that letter.
Yeah, that's right. Endorsing what the comments that were in there, and a bit of disappointment. Although we have said about the fact that they told us that we know, but.
Yeah, but could we actually
We can always repeat, can't we? It will do no
Could
good
we
in the
actually
long
say
term,
that-
but we can always repeat.
Can they plant more trees and make them more than stick height?
Well, we've asked the funds to be increased beyond 2 metres,
Yeah,
but they won't do
it's
that.
20 years for a twin to become.
So that's why you put the funds
I
high
don't care.
in the first place.
Oh yeah, like both. Why not go for
Is there different regulations on motorway fronting to freeway fronting? So, you know, if there's a difference, if motorway fronting has to be higher.
Don't know. It's going to happen. We can discuss
It's
it.
all about litigation, really.
Mitigation.
Litigation, as we have gone from the outset of this and the numerous meetings I went to where we submitted, and we thought at one point we were going to have a little bit more, but it didn't happen, which was about the very low noise road surface.
That's what I was going to say about the surface, because if they're saying the noise is now expected to increase by 50%, I don't know how much the change in surface decreases the noise, but that would be, balance it up. But haven't they all started laying tarmac? I don't know,
They
it's
have,
surface.
yeah. And there was,
No
in the
idea.
design of the road, there were elements around the marina, around Buckton or Brampton, where a very low road noise surface was going to be used. Then along other stretches of the route it was going to be a low road noise surface. And the argument was why they didn't put it along the whole route was that it runs out quicker than, so the very low road noise surface needs to be replaced more frequently than the low road noise surface. There was no indication of what the costings would be of that, and that their sound expert had dictated what the sound levels would be, and that's what the inspector would in the end, rather than the sound expert that the Parish Council appointed and produced a survey and put that forward, and they didn't go with that, they just went with what they had, I'm sorry to say. I thought right at the end, the very last meeting that we went to, there was almost a chink of light about the road noise surface, but they didn't come out of it at the end. They went. And all the bunding was, so there's a book, isn't there, on how to build a road. There's, in that book, there are, bunding shall be 2 metres high. Trees will be planted. Doesn't say. And the highways will do that. They won't, they can come here to our village and tell us that we are one of the worst affected villages, but they wouldn't go beyond the
rule book.
The rule book on mitigation. So
And they smile at the same time.
Yeah.
they're nice people. Because they're people, aren't they? And everybody's nice. So you get on with that, and then, but you don't necessarily have to agree with what they've got to say.
Can
But
we
you
find
don't
that
go
they use
calling them.
recycled plastic in the asphalt? No, it's true, it works.
I agree, yeah.
And it lasts
Is it in
longer
the
than
rule
any
book?
other roads.
I doubt it. They were quite excited about their very low noise road surface,
No,
but
it doesn't
they weren't going to
recycle plastic.
put it across the whole length. And as Laura quite rightly points out, lots of the length of the road has been laid. They wouldn't even put the very low road noise surface up where Fen Stanton's cut in half. They deemed that wasn't.
Oh, where Pear Tree Road or
Anyway.
something.
That's it.
Yeah,
Around there, it wasn't even going in that stretch.
because they counted the
We're
number of
going to have to
houses
press
and there
it
wasn't
this week.
unaffected.
No, we're not. You have to get on with your life. This is.
Won't have so much light, I'll be polluted, deafened, blinded.
It's all right, they'll make them electric
Aircon
soon.
was concrete, so you could hear it from miles.
Well, that's true.
So things have improved.
I've got lots of them.
You'll have the A428 George beneath you. Yeah? And your access east-west will be brilliant. And everybody in 5 years' time will say, don't know what the fuss was.
Okay.
Is one
Really?
view, is a viewpoint. Is a viewpoint, isn't it?
If you can breathe.
Well, at the moment, if you get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, the noise from just what we've got currently is horrendous. Since I've shot the trees down. But they told us the trees make no difference.
And everybody will have their individual views on what is happening. We have continued to try and represent, on behalf of the village, requests for more mitigation. And we will continue to do so. And once it's built, we will ask for the reviews that were promised by the Highways England and Cambridgeshire County Council to be undertaken with regards to traffic going down Gravely Way, for one, because there were studies done. There are some tubes out there collecting data on particles on the sky. So those will continue to be monitored, and I'm sure that when we come to the end of the time that those were originally agreed for. We may well look to extend that as a good database of monitoring, or database of data. And we just have to keep going and trying to get something for the village.
Nibbling away.
But there is rather a smack of, we're Highways England, we've decided that there's going to be a motorway. And tough luck everybody
But
else.
if you talk to the farmers as well, you know, they was agreed to what land they're taking. They just run roughshod. They take whatever they want. You know, a bit more here and a bit more there. And the farmers.
Everywhere a big thing. And all that sort of thing. But yes, that happens.
Not too long.
We get
Yes. There you go. So thank you for sending the stuff over, Andy. There's a ton of it, isn't
Very
there?
interesting.
It's very comprehensive.
Yeah.
He's very good. He's a good chap.
It's brilliant. And we will send we'll get, I'm sorry I didn't get that up on the website. We'll put that up on the website. And we'll send a little, something in support of the CPRE, even though they might come back and say, you're too late, we will.
Could I suggest you perhaps send a letter to Alan personally, Peter,
Yeah.
and just say thank you,
That's a good
because
idea.
it's
And we support you.
and we support you, because
Yeah.
he does an awful lot with lorries and other stuff as well, and helps Hat as well. So you know, he's a decent chap.
Good idea.
Will do. Thank you. Right, should we move on? 5.5, Hat, update from group.
It's me again.
Yep.
Okay, so unfortunately I missed the last HAP meeting, so Ken's kindly given me an update of what where we're up to with things. The HAP group did do a leaflet drop around the village about the impact of HDBs in particular that people are experiencing, and had a really good, large number of responses, both verbal and written, about the impact and the difficulties people are having from HDBs, mainly the noise, vibration and pollution people are concerned about. There was, not just people living in Potton Road, people living in Tide Close, for example, reporting issues, Mill Hill End, Church End, so it is wider than just literally there's people living right on the main road that are experiencing vibration enough to make pictures for the wall in some cases. And one thing that I've taken again, it's come from Alan James, so as Ken says, he does do a lot of work in this, that a recommendation, something the parish councils can and should be doing, is writing to any hauliers that drive HGVs through the village to ask them to adhere to the county strategic freight routes. So I did send you all round a link to that. It's on the Cambridgeshire County Council website, so it's not a Cambridgeshire County Council initiative, it's a community initiative, but it's endorsed by the County Council. And there are
8 companies signed up to it so far.
There are loads of companies signed up, however, they're obviously not all actually following it, which is another thing. So there's quite a few companies signed up, including Mick George, Amy, Balfour Beatty, etc. Hanson, because their drivers are all self-employed or whatever it is, so I don't know if they can, I don't think you could get them signed up.
A PC Howard.
So basically, we as a parish council, we can write to these hauliers and ask them to adhere to the route, which doesn't include driving down B10, it includes using the A roads in the surrounding area, A1198, A428, etc. Ask them to sign up to the covenant, which again is on the Cambridgeshire County Council website. It's a voluntary code. It basically says, you're a large commercial company, you're causing nuisance in our village, please can you try to work with us and not do it. And get them to try and sign up to that, and then obviously if they do agree to sign up to it, then to continue writing and say, hold on, you've agreed to sign up to this, but you're not doing it, so we're now bringing this to your attention. And I think that is partly something that Roadwatch do at the moment, but I think coming from the parish council would be better and support that initiative as well. So I would suggest that maybe we start to look at trying to do that. I don't know if it's ever been done in the past.
So we just need a standard letter that goes to all.
There is a
Well, there's a standard covenant.
Peter,
Oh, yeah.
could I just add a little bit?
Go on, Ken. We'll take the comment. We're not going to.
I actually started to do just that.
Okay, yeah.
I wrote to Hanson's, Marshall, Mick George. I wrote to all the main protagonists.
Yeah.
And I had a fantastic response. Marshall's actually diverted their vehicles. But once Hanson's broke the agreement, Marshall's then started coming back through because they said, well, it's costing us more, why should they get the benefit? I think if we could get and I did say this to you, Laura, we need to get the Parish Council to try and take a little bit of ownership as well, because, I mean, I don't mind helping, but they don't listen to me, and
it's one of those stupid things, as you've seen.
And if we can do it together, then perhaps we can get this going, because if we can get them to agree and to the covenant, we might just get some of them to. I mean, Mick George actually said at a meeting that he would support this village
but he wants everybody else to do it as well.
if we wanted a ban of HGVs as well. So I think the will is there. I think it just needs a lot more work to just push it through.
You said that local authorities signed up to this freight route scheme.
It's on the Cambridgeshire County Council website.
Is it?
So it's not
There's a
something,
link in there.
it's an advisory freight map. It's on their website and the covenant.
It doesn't
again.
print well,
No,
does
it
it?
doesn't print
No,
well.
I've got exactly the same problem with the one that's on the desk.
And the covenant agreement again is on the Cambridgeshire County
Yeah.
website, and they've got a policy.
Because under here there's a key,
Right.
and this covers the whole of the county, so it shows that this is a bit where there is a nighttime ban. But it doesn't.
So does that suggest that in writing to all the organisations, that we almost in a sense write to them as a group? One, to say sign up if you haven't already, because others have. Two, to say if one of you, goes back on this and doesn't adhere to the covenant, then you're actually opening the floodgates for everybody else to not adhere to the covenant. So we actually need that commitment that if you sign up, you do it and you stick with it. Because if they're not
On the website, which I clicked on and I haven't looked at too much, there was a rough survey that you can do, which you could have used. No, I found it, and then it disappeared. But there is a survey actually on the website which basically says one square scoring level of how many houses does the road that Laura's going through, how many are there, and it's scoring 1 to 8, and then how close are the footpaths up to them, have you got a school on that road, etc., etc., and you score it.
I've got that, sir.
You have that.
I've
And
got the whole thing, because
what do we do? Send that to
I
the
filled
county
it in.
council?
I filled it in. I spent nearly 3 weeks doing it.
Right.
And I measured the road, I measured how many houses, I measured how much footpath we've got, and we came out as one of the most dangerous villages in Cambridgeshire.
And then Cambridge
And then they
there's
changed-
a flow chart.
Then they changed the goalposts because there were so many villages with so many problems. They changed the goalposts and we went from top to mid tables. And it's interesting because the narrowest part of Potton Road is at Walnut Cottage. And yesterday there was wing mirrors taken off 2 trucks because one coming down, another one going up. They meet in the middle, they can't go anywhere unless they make the pavement. They're continually mounting the pavement at Alan Seeley's place, and they have to do that because they just can't pass otherwise. And if they're going too fast, which is invariably are, one of them has to make the pavement to miss the other. And as sure as X is X, there's going to be a major accident on that corner. It's just not wide enough.
They are too big then.
It's just not wide enough to take 2 trucks.
And that's why the bollards were there and got knocked over before.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because of said, which is where we need to talk to that policeman again about what action they're taking. with regards to commercial vehicles with this, but there is no data on that to prevent them coming through. We need to do this bit on the commercial company covenant. It didn't come out as a Cambridgeshire County Council email, this one, did it? It's only come through your good selves.
Yeah, this isn't a new thing, I don't think.
No.
No.
There's not been
Suggestion that came
anything
from
that
the
will your comment about Cambridgeshire County Council perhaps doing a little bit more, I just point to the bottom of the covenant. Supports this community-owned initiative. Yeah.
But even still, we could ask them to lobby.
Well, I think one of the things that came out during the A14 part and all the work that was being done around the planning inspectorate is that they won't do anything until the A14 is completed and open, because they want to see what effect that has on local traffic. There is an opinion that when the new A14 is open, that traffic will not need to come down the B road, it will take the A road route, which will be along the old A14 and down the 1198. That is the opinion.
I don't know why they didn't allow it.
They just the reason why it would be different is that the old A14 won't be a car park, as it is on many days. The idea being that the traffic will flow along the new A14, the old A14 will also then flow, and then you won't have the resistance of that because people won't be sitting in there for years. But that, again, is somebody's opinion, and that is where we have to then collect data once it's open, because they have said they will not do anything until the A14 is open and the routes are flowing in the way that they're modelled.
You almost need to get the companies used to being a route though, don't you now? So they're just going to carry on doing the routes they currently do.
Well, unless there is a distance advantage or a financial advantage.
One thing I think, as a parish council, apart from getting this thing started up and going, is I think we should write to Nick George again and thank him for continuing for his vehicles to travel at 20 miles an hour.
Yeah,
through.
I was the other thing.
It does say on the covenant about observe a self-imposed lower speed limit, so I don't know whether we could either add something to that Mick George lorries are already got, but then we're suggesting that they do come through, but at least, you know...
But that's what the voluntary code is about, isn't it? Is that they do observe the HCV routes, and this route is the, whatever they called it, the route...
Freight advisory map.
Yeah, but they called it a triangle of something or other. Not a triangle of doom, as we would like to say, but a triangle of preferred routage.
Yeah,
okay.
Investigating this one,
And that we want them to observe speed limits, and we want them to observe not coming through here at night when they're not banned. We're not. We would like it to say don't come through Hilton, but we can't enforce not coming through Hilton because the road is open to HGVs.
Okay.
We want them to come through and behave appropriately,
Because
drive at correct limits and not crash into each other and not frighten people who are walking down the road.
Because these lorries are so large, have we ever looked at, and I don't know because I'm reasonably new, have we ever looked at putting very large, sort of massive semicircuits in two parts of the road, so the lorries can only drive one way and then come out, and then another lorry can drive, because it will actually stop them. I mean, I've seen it in a number of villages. Papworth has it.
No,
They've got an alternative route to Papworth.
But they have an alternative route,
Anyway,
which we are asking them to
one
do.
of the things that came out with regards to rumble strips and alternative
Right.
traffic calming measures was that the residents on the road didn't want it because it would make too
Makes
much
more
noise.
noise. Stopping
Okay?
and starting.
So it's a fine balance, isn't it? People want something to happen, but quite rightly they don't want to hear the trucks taking off as they go over rumble strips. So
Do you think reducing them to 20 miles an hour is reducing the noise and the vibration more than anything
potentially,
else?
yeah. So let's start with the. I'll have a read of this a little bit more depth and see what we can do about getting through. And Ken, I know you'll have a list of the commercial vehicle operators that come through the village, so we will ask you for that
Okay.
And then we'll put a parish council letter in line with the initiative that the Cambridge County Council have asked for, and we'll put it out.
And also we send a copy to, if they sign it, we send it on to the Parish Council.
I'm not
They
sure
do
what the scheme
monitor it
says.
As well.
If the scheme says that, then that's
Yeah.
what we'll do.
And should it be an idea to actually put it on our website, the fact of which companies we've actually written to and who have agreed to abide by this code of conduct? Just so the parishioners know what's going on. So they know the parish council are
If
minded
that
to do
doesn't breach
something.
any data protection regulations
Well, I think
that
then the parish
identify
councillors,
companies, then we will, but we'll take the guidance on that
Yeah,
from our expert on
that's probably right.
And if you're going to write to Mick, could you also add in thanks for the loan of his data loggers through Community Road Watch? So we've been borrowing them through
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
and
Because
he's
we're going to collect some that they didn't.
yeah, he sponsored them. So
Have you got that? Yeah,
good, thank you.
Thank you.
and I've already mentioned, so the next meeting we'll find we should have the results back from the funding application, the SID and MBAC thing. And could we just have the, this is like a standing agenda item for HAP, because there's usually some update to give from HAP meetings, so that's a standing item on the agenda, please.
Yes.
So I
Yeah,
don't
thank
remember
you.
to ask you to.
No, that's right. Nicola, that'll need to go on there, probably roughly where it is, as a repeater. But it depends whether you've got any other letters. If there's no other letters coming, then it goes out with this. Lovely, thank you very much. Anything else on that?
That's good.
Good, thank you. Right, 5.6, Scott's Close says this was interesting,
Yeah.
wasn't it? Discuss any action that can be taken regarding resident complaints of buses passing each other on the road. I'm just going to throw this in. I got home and there on the email were 3 emails with photographs of people parking on the side of the road and buses going through here and there. And then the third and fourth email was, oh, sorry, wrong Hilton. So I just want you to know, it happens across the country, okay? Please delete. So I have deleted.
Well, this was a neighbour, as it were, in Scott's Close that came
Yes.
round to the house, understandably incensed because they are on the corner, or one of the corners on Scott's Close. And you know the school bus stops there, but in her observation, non-school buses, just buses, were coming through, rather than go to the crossroads and turn left, they were actually coming through Scott's Crescent to carry on towards Patworth.
I apologise that this is Scott's Close on the agenda.
Oh, sorry.
It should be Scott's Crescent, by the way.
Crescent, whichever one it is. I was getting confused.
No, it is
and-
Crescent.
Okay.
I got it wrong on the agenda.
But they, and then one day there were 2 buses trying to pass each other, and as you've said, there are quite often vehicles parked, not perhaps most sensibly, but nevertheless they live there, and trying to get 2 buses, so and ending up them having to do backwards, forwards on the pavement, etc. And they shouldn't be there.
So you're saying these are not school buses?
They're not school buses.
I've seen non-school buses going down there.
Well, what buses are there? I thought we didn't have any buses
Exactly.
left
Well,
anymore.
I get the impression, and I don't know this, that there might be buses just on their way back to depots or something like that. So they're not necessarily carrying any passengers.
I don't want to stick my hand up too often, but we had the same problem with Gravely Way, and they're not supposed to be going down there. Whippets are the biggest
Yeah.
protagonist. Just come down through the village, turn left along Gravely Way. They shouldn't be doing it. I've spoken to I've also spoken to
Someone
PC
else.
Palmer in the village about it, and they've confirmed they shouldn't be going down there. So if they go that way, they're probably coming through Scott's Crescent as well. Probably the same vehicles.
The Bolton school bus goes through Gravely Way, doesn't it?
It does, it stops along there, Robinson's Coach, and
Yeah.
lets people
But
off.
it's the other ones as well.
So,
And she also mentioned that a truck, a big truck came through that shouldn't.
So
Well, we've got huge haulage trucks that go through Church End
Yeah.
at 7 o'clock every morning. I mean,
let's
that-
just remind ourselves of the Parish Council's responsibilities in these issues, yeah? Because we cannot enforce highways matters. We can write to the police, we can write to Cambridgeshire County Council, and we can ask them to come and look at it. Yeah? And that has been done on many occasions. I understand that there is a reason for the buses going down Scots Crescent. Now, people who are newer to the village may not know this, and I'm going to ask Nicola to tell us why.
That's for the school bus.
Yeah, for the school bus. What is the reason why the buses go down Scots Crescent?
Oh, it's not the school buses.
It's not the school bus.
I think there have been complaints about school buses in the past with people
The
going...
agenda item is not about that.
It's about buses.
No, it's about
Well, it's
these
specifically
road
not.
buses.
Sorry, Nicola.
The school
Aye.
bus is an issue in this point.
It's
As
a
a-
safety issue because the school children need to wait in a safe and not cross that main road. It was before the zebra crossing was put in. It was,
There is another reason, but I'm not...
yes, that's right.
Yeah. So that is why the buses, the school buses go down
Well, I
there.
don't think I'm just complaining
And-
about that.
Well, I think they have in the past.
It wasn't the
We
case
will quite happily write on behalf of residents to the law enforcement agency and the Cambridge County Council Highways Department and ask them to investigate the complaints of those residents further.
It's actually legal that.
No, it's not. Can we not
Send your bus
write
down there.
to the bus company that is carrying passengers, not the school bus? And because the company might not know their drivers going through there. So surely if we could write to the MD of that particular bus company and say, your bus is causing us a little bit of an issue, would you mind, please?
I've got no problems at all of us writing to
Could-
the
So
You
if
know,
I
on
find
that-
out which, if you can
Yeah.
tell me what the
I
bus
don't
company...
think it would be illegal, but it would probably be, they wouldn't be insured to go on non-route journeys. Do they have to be?
Dunno. We'll write to them and we will point at...
Is illegal.
We will write to the companies and we will tell them the issues that the residents are making.
And,
Yeah.
and what volume of resident issues is this? I mean, is it one person, 3 people?
Well, one person raised it with me, but she said that others have remarked on it as well.
Okay, so
So
we've got to be a bit
I need
careful.
to,
that
I
we're-
understand that.
But I think there would be no harm in writing to the bus company
A
saying,
nice letter, just saying our parishioners have brought it to our attention and it is causing a little bit of concern. And the buses sometimes are having to mount the pavements because the road is quite narrow.
If it's just school buses, no, hang on, hang on.
If it is, then...
If we can identify the buses that are school buses,
Mhm.
and there's a very good reason for them to be
Mm.
there, and compounding the problem is parents driving there to drop their kids off and parking their extra vehicles in the area. That's something I think we're quite limited of what we can do. If it's just these other buses, I don't know why they'd be there. I mean, if I was a bus driver, I wouldn't want to go down and skate Scots Crescent if I didn't need to. So what's the reason for them doing it and where they're going? And, if we can get to find out a
Presuming
bit.
they're doing the same thing, they're turning around.
you should
They're
turn
probably
around
going
the
back the
present
same
and
way
to
again for
reverse
some
it.
reason.
Yeah.
Ken, go on.
I'm
It
so,
might be easier.
it is illegal because they're coming off a 7.5 tonne weight limit, which is 24 hours a day. So they're coming off the high street and they're coming into Scots Crescent, which is covered by the TRO for the high street.
And it's not for access, the
Not for
school
access.
buses are for access.
So it is actually illegal. So, you could take it down that road as well.
Yeah. So we could write to the bus company and then we could monitor for a month. If it continues, we could send that information on to the law enforcement.
So I'm presuming bus companies, these buses might have cameras on board, so the companies might actually be able to check.
Find out who they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, so please provide further information and then we can write to the correct company. So
Okay.
we don't want to write to the
I'll
wrong
see what I
company.
can find out.
And we do it. You know it's right.
Okay, will do. Thank you.
And we will. I think we have in the past written, but if we've got fact, we'll write it based on fact. 5.7, fee sweep. Consider and decide the request. Sharon, Sarah, I've called you Sharon twice now. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Sharon.
This week, we were just wondering whether the Parish Council would like to donate £40 for all the children in the village who go and count the number of homemade or cardboard eggs that is put around the village. There's approximately 60, I think, that are made and decorated by preschool and various children in the village. And each child that comes back, whatever age it is, has a small, hollow chocolate egg. And we also tend to give out first, second and third prize to the children that have managed to count the right number, or most eggs. And we just thought, could the Parish Council help this week a little bit in all their fundraising and donate £40 towards this? And we would obviously say thank you very much to the Parish Council in the Easter egg hunt.
I think that's a nice idea because it's not actually a profit-making.
It's not a profit-making event
in
at
the
all.
past. I know I've helped to organise it, and I think it's a really nice thing for the village. You know, because some years it hasn't happened, and recently, and people have missed it. So I think it's a nice community event, and if there was enough funds to sponsor that, I think that would be quite nice.
Actually, it helps involve the Parish Council in the event as well. Get them in the rights.
It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because the Parish Council doesn't make donations. It makes one donation a year. Well, it's made two this last year. One is for the Legion, for the poppies, and we recently agreed a donation to, and I'll get it right, Speedwatch or Roadwatch, one of the two organisations. But over the years that I've seen, the Parish Council doesn't make donations. However, Facebook did make us a donation, didn't it? £100 back in 2014, was it? At the time of the fireworks. So on one hand, it's public money. On the other hand, you could almost say it's repaying the loan.
Well, it's the press.
But I think if we're giving money to the British Legion, which doesn't benefit the village, I mean, this is
It's a very, that's a...
Well, okay, I'll be careful on that, but this is a non-profit making part of Feast Week. Feast Week is just very much nice.
But that's exactly the problem.
It just-
How do you choose who your charities are or your favourite
and it is
recipients?
Yeah.
I like to think that
Well,
that
if the
we
Parish
support.
Council don't really feel like supporting
I
it,
think
that's
that's
absolutely fine.
Sarah,
I think
stop.
we-
We haven't got to that point of discussion yet. It's in debate.
Okay.
I think we support Feast Week in other more subtle ways.
Well, we do support them. We mow the grass, ready for the marquee every year. We happy to have the marquee there and support that. We provide the firework night, we support, and Feast Week makes some money out of that. So I don't think you say the Parish Council don't support Feast Week.
I think Feast Week.
What we're talking about here is a principle, really. We're custodians of public money, and if we're going, we should really be very careful about what we spending money on. I know it's only 40 quid. I personally would be very happy to make a donation, but I think we're talking about the principle of whether the Parish Council should be doing this sort of thing.
And that is,
I think
that is a big thing.
I think the Parish Council and Feast Week kind of work together on several things. Like we've got the fireworks where we work jointly, so together. I was thinking maybe there are ways that the Parish Council and Feast Week could work with each other. Maybe Feast Week, Feast Week do very well and raise loads of money. Maybe they might be able to support the Parish Council in donating bench, for example. You don't know, like we could have.
Very kindly in 2014 it did donate.
Well,
I think it does work that way. And also, I don't have to be charged for the village, do it? If they're
No.
not the village. I mean, I
Feast
think
Week
it works a very
it's
nice
part
way.
of the utilities.
But
Feast Week pays
But there's no-
it's part of the
But we
utilities,
don't.
but we don't charge them for using it.
I
If
don't
they
think
use it.
Feast Week has ever
Used
used
to,
it.
yeah, used to store all its beer and
Oh,
and
for
all that
storage,
sort
yeah.
of things.
But going back to the £40,
Yeah.
sorry, going back to the £40 request, it does seem to me, if there is an issue, it's about precedent. And I would be perfectly comfortable that the Parish Council gave £40 on the basis that it would not set a precedent, either for Free Street to have it every year, or for anybody else to automatically get one because we asked. But if we're willing to give it to the British Legion, and I'm not for or against or whatever, then it seems to me giving to support children in the community effectively is really a nice direction to go in. I'd like to see it. Industry.
Any other comments?
I agree with Anne. I think it's it is for children in the village, and that's actually I think the Parish Council and Free Street have always sort of worked together, and in years gone by when Free Street have made maybe significant profit on some events, and there's been some money to be able to be donated, which is
reciprocation.
Yeah, and that was specifically into the firework fund. When Free Speakers, had a good night on the bonfire, I don't think. But as I said, that last time that happened was in 2014. It might have been 2015.
And I think the last few years has been a struggle, and I think the villagers, from feedback I've heard, have really, missed there hasn't been any Easter camp for the last maybe 2 years. So I think it's a great community event, really.
Yeah, and from what we hear around, the new committee, the new Free Street committee, are doing great guns, aren't they?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah.
And there's been a really nice recognition of interest within the village for Free Street. I think the events that they've had so far this year have been particularly well attended, which is great. Because I think Free Street is so important to Hilton, whilst there are people willing to run it.
And I just thought, and I didn't realise there was going to be such a problem with £40 or the principle of it.
Yes.
The reason that I suggested it is because I thought it would make the Parish Council look like they were getting more involved with the parishioners at an event that the parishioners do tend to attend. And I just felt it was a very good PR situation for the Parish Council
And that's
to
brilliant,
get
Sarah,
involved.
because that's your role within Free Street. Well done. Thank you very much. It's not a position that will be supported by all parishioners within the village, believe it or not. Yeah. So that's why it's being discussed as, because it is.
So there might be other people come to us say, like fishing clubs, can we put some money into that, or can we do something for the flower club or the art group or whatever?
That's fine, clear enough. Fully see it.
So that's the principle I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I understand where you're coming from. I'm trying not to be negative. I'm just trying to think the long term, what happens to us if we having to. It could be more negative, having to continuously turn that stuff down in the months to years to come than it would be to accept one. No.
Yeah, I agree. I understand exactly where you're coming from. It's not a problem for this week, they can find funding. It's just I thought it was a really great thing for the Parish Council to do.
That's what your role is within the Free Street Committee, to seek out areas of support for Free Street.
As a Parish Councillor, I thought it would be a really great thing to do. Not
So what are we going to do?
I'm going to give Free Street 40 quid. I'm personally going to give Free Street 40 quid to sponsor the eggs. I love Free Street, as you probably know. I'm still involved in it, and we have such great fond memories, and I'm going to take the decision away from the Parish Council, and I'm going to give the 40 quid. And you can announce that Easter eggs are supported by a parishioner.
Okay, thank you very much for that. And that's very kind of you, and that's brilliant. But that wasn't the purpose of making the suggestion. But we will accept it because these week will not turn out any money.
No, of course you won't. Of course we won't. But never did in the days that I was doing it, and I would like to do that.
Thank you very much indeed.
That still leaves the Parish Council with them. discussion, it seems to me, about when people request donations, what
Yeah.
we're going to do.
And that can be a discussion for another day, if you don't mind, because it
Because
is
it's 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock.
Yeah.
This is all time recording. It's all time recording.
Right, 5.8. Nicola, I hope you haven't been put off on your first meeting.
This is a good meeting, isn't it?
That's how I am.
You too.
Oh, I haven't got that.
Keep the sense out the agenda later.
And
This
so,
is a revised
this
agenda.
is the agenda that's gone on the notice board.
Oh, sorry, yeah, you do.
I did. I said this was the agenda that went on the notice board, 5.8. Yeah?
So what we have, I've got 5.8.
You got 5.8. Thank you very much.
I did, but my machine's died now, so
Okay,
I
so
have no.
5.8. So, welcome Nicola. There, as we mentioned last month, there is a course that covers the essential information to allow new clerks, as well as those who have been in post for some time, to find their way around the legislation, processes and procedures of town and parish councils. Cost £240 for member councils. That's us. It is the 12th and the 19th of March. So it's ideal, and I am proposing that we support Nicola by paying the fee for her to go on that course.
I second it.
Thank you. All in favour?
We can look, just
Thank
before we vote, before we
I
vote.
think we just have. But go on, you can make a comment.
Well, the point was made last time when Joe went on that training.
No, different training.
I know it was different training, it was
Yeah.
training for which the Parish Council was paying.
Yeah.
I think regardless of who it's for or the person, is we should make the point that yes, it will be funded as long as the person commits to stay with us for a period of whatever the period has to be.
No, totally disagree. This is a public office appointment of which there are no such things. In private enterprise, fine, you can have as many clauses as you want in contracts to tie people in. This is a public
Did you
office.
have it in public?
Yeah,
Certainly
we
don't.
had this conversation again last month, and we all, in the end, basically disagreed,
Mm.
and Peter directed us.
I was here last.
Yeah, and I still,
Public service organisations have similar clauses.
Please provide the evidence. Okay?
Okay.
But we have voted, everybody's voted in favour of that course.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
I sort of see that course as like mandatory.
This is-
yes,
yeah.
I agree
So I
with you.
think that's absolutely
And we
fine.
did discuss if
Do-
there were other courses, we may
Do
consider
take on
that.
your point, and I think any other future courses need to be discussed and maybe.
Maybe. But, and we
Yeah.
We discussed that, but that wasn't for this particular course. So thank you, Nicola, for volunteering to go on that course.
Get the harm out from up your back.
We're on it. We have got it. Item 6.1, authorised payment of any bills. So I have got JSC Services £660 standing order, Ecotricity direct debit £8.54, and the cheque secured for £100 on the agenda or on this item again, because unfortunately what I thought was the invoice was a pre-notification of the charge. The invoice date was beyond the last meeting date, so we can't have that authorised at last meeting to pay against the invoice. It needs to be authorised this meeting. Otherwise the external auditor would get a bit funny. So the cheque,
Right.
website hosting and
Gotcha.
domain.
Right, thank
And
you.
so the cheque is still here. We'll just redate it, and then you can have it. All right. So those are the items to be paid. I propose that we pay them.
I'll second that.
Thank you. All in favour? And then monies received. We have received the refund from SLCC of £125 in relation to the previous course, as we advised, as we said we were advised we would get, and we've got it. So that's good. What I haven't checked, I was sitting there earlier on, and I will have to look, is did we get the 99,000? Did it actually come in?
Well,
The
for the
feasibility study.
it doesn't come to.
I don't know, man. I just
That's
thought,
a good point.
yeah,
It was going to be
I'll have a look at the
30.
bank statement.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know, because I don't see the bank statement.
No,
Yes, thank you, good
yeah,
point.
I will
And then
check
the
that.
money,
Yeah.
it was due to be sent to us.
It was, that's what I thought. And what I did look for was I looked to see if that money had come back from SLCC. I didn't look to see if that money was in. But I will check.
Please, just let me know so
Yes,
I can chase
I
this
will.
stuff.
Okay, item 7, councillors' item. Sarah, going from left to right.
No, nothing.
Laura? Kieran? Anne?
No,
Sharon? Got 'em right. Got you right this time, didn't I?
Sharon, do you want to say about I didn't minute about Craig?
Oh, sorry, yes,
Oh, yes.
I had just written to just put in the minutes, thank you to Craig Sutherland for going out, and Dave Ruddy chopping up the tree it was completely obstructing the road last time.
Thank you. Graham?
Got 4.
4. Okay, far away.
Got none. I'm just going to thank you for muddling through the last 2 months. All the extra work you've done, so.
don't say it's muddling.
And the money you've saved since
Yes, saved.
between clocks, so well done. Hope you enjoy the rest.
No, sorry, that's... yeah, no, that is next month. That's quite amusing, isn't it? Next month's meeting is on April the 1st.
No.
You sure?
Yes.
Oh.
Thank you very much. Meeting closed at 22:11.